Faites l'appel, s'il vous plaît, Monsieur le greffier.
Monsieur le connétable de Saint-Hélier.
Présent.
Madame le connétable de Saint-Laurent. Monsieur le connétable de Saint-Bélard.
Présent.
Monsieur le connétable de la Trinité.
Présent.
Monsieur le connétable de Saint-Pierre.
Présent.
Madame le connétable de Saint-Martin.
Présente.
Monsieur le connétable de Saint-Jean.
Présent.
Monsieur le connétable de Saint-Clément.
Présent.
Monsieur le connétable de Gruville.
Présent.
Monsieur le connétable de Saint-Ouen.
Présent.
Monsieur le connétable de Sainte-Marie.
Présent.
Monsieur le connétable de Saint-Sauveur.
Présent.
Monsieur le député Southern. Madame le député Laddie.
Présente.
Monsieur le député Thadier.
Présent.
Monsieur le député Luce. Madame le député Doublé.
Présente.
Monsieur le député Morel.
Présent.
Madame le député Lehegara.
Présente.
Monsieur le député Ayer.
Présent.
Monsieur le député Ward.
Présent.
Madame le député Alves.
Présente.
Madame le député Gardner.
Présente.
Monsieur le député Gore.
Présent.
Monsieur le député Farnham.
Présent.
Madame le député Moore.
Présente.
Monsieur le député Mezek.
Présent.
Monsieur le député Ozer.
Présent.
Monsieur le député Banash. Monsieur le député Cole.
Présent.
Madame le député Poré.
Présente.
Monsieur le député Ward.
Présent.
Madame le député Miles.
Présente.
Madame le député Scott.
Présente.
Monsieur le député Renouf.
Présent.
Madame le député Curtis. Madame le député Felton.
Présente.
Madame le député Binet.
Présente.
Madame le député Jones.
Présente.
Madame le député Miller.
Présente.
Madame le député Howell.
Présente.
Monsieur le député Binet.
Présent.
Monsieur le député Ferry.
Présent.
Madame le député Kovac.
Présente.
Monsieur le député Curtis.
Présent.
Madame le député Ward. Madame le député Wilson.
Présente.
Madame le député Stevenson.
Présente.
Monsieur le député Andrews.
Présent.
Monsieur le greffier.
Prions Dieu. Notre aide soit au nom de Dieu qui a fait les cieux et la terre. Amen. Seigneur Dieu, Père éternel et tout-puissant, qui a établi les gouvernements et les puissances de la terre pour le règlement et pour la conduite du peuple, et qui nous a commandé d'avoir toujours pour but la gloire de ton saint nom. Nous te prions qu'il te plaise de donner à cette assemblée le don de conseil et de prudence, d'unir les cœurs et les affections de tous ceux qui la composent, et de les conduire tellement toi-même par ton Saint-Esprit, que toute leur délibération étant accompagnée de ta bénédiction, réussissent au bien et au soulagement du peuple, quitte à plus de commettre à leur soin. Car nous t'en prions au nom et par les mérites de ton Fils bien-aimé Jésus-Christ, notre Seigneur, qui nous a enseigné de t'invoquer en disant « Notre Père, qui es aux cieux, ton nom soit sanctifié, ton règne vienne, ta volonté soit faite en la terre comme au ciel. Donne-nous aujourd'hui notre pain quotidien, et nous pardonnons nos offenses, comme nous pardonnons à ceux qui nous ont offensés. Et ne nous induis point en tentation, mais délivre-nous du mal. Car toi est le règne, la puissance et la gloire, au siècle des siècles. Amen. Madame la connétable de Saint-Laurent.
Madame Greffier, the Connétable de Saint-Laurent is absent out of the island, having made arrangements prior to the changes.
Members prepared to mark the connétable as excusé. Excusé.
Monsieur le député Southern.
Ma'am, it's the same case as with Deputy Southern.
Excusé.
Monsieur le député Luce.
I understand that Deputy Lucy is out of the island and for the same reasons as the other.
Excusé. Les états sont constitués. The bailiff has asked me to apologise to members for not presiding over the Assembly today. He had hoped and expected to do so, but is presently travelling back from London, where he attended the funeral of Her Majesty the Queen yesterday. Just for those, particularly those in the public gallery, the tributes which were due to be made today to the former Connétable Iris Lefevre and the late Senator Ferguson will be made tomorrow by the bailiff in the Assembly. So moving on to Part B of the order paper, there are a number of subordinate enactments under B, and also a number of matters have been presented or laid as described on the consolidated order paper under section C. And the following matters have been lodged under section D. Minimum wage alignment with the living wage, P78 amendment, lodged on the 6th of September by the Council of Ministers. Mini budget 2022, lodged by the Council of Ministers, that's P80. Mini budget 2022 amendment, lodged by Deputy Scott of St Brelard. Mini budget 2022 second amendment, lodged by Deputy Mezek. Mini budget third amendment, lodged by Deputy Faltham. Mini budget third amendment, lodged by the Council of Ministers. Mini budget fourth amendment, lodged by Deputy Mezek. Mini budget fifth amendment, lodged by Deputy Catherine Curtis. Mini budget sixth amendment, lodged by Deputy Coles. Mini budget seventh amendment, lodged by Deputy Andrews. Mini budget eighth amendment, lodged by Deputy Andrews. Mini budget ninth amendment and 10th amendment, both lodged by Deputy Southern. Draft Finance Budget Cost of Living Jersey Law 2000, lodged by the Minister of Treasury and Resources, P81. Draft Finance Budget Cost of Living Addendum. Draft Social Security Amendment of Law, Temporary Reduction of Contribution Rates, Jersey Regulations, P82, lodged by the Minister for Social Security. Draft Social Security Amendment of Law, Temporary Reduction of Contribution Rates, Jersey Regulations, Amendment, lodged by Deputy Southern. Draft Community Cost Bonus Regulations 2000, P83, lodged by the Minister for Social Security. Draft Community Cost Bonus Regulations Amendment, lodged by Deputy Faltham. Draft Community Cost Bonus Amendment to that amendment, lodged by the Council of Ministers. Draft Community Cost Bonus Amendment Regulations 2000, Second Amendment, lodged by Deputy Faltham. Draft Community Cost Bonus Amendments Regulations Third Amendment, lodged by Deputy Andrews. Draft Cold Weather Bonus and Payments Miscellaneous Amendments, Jersey Regulations 2000, P84, lodged by the Minister for Social Security. States of Jersey Development Company Limited, appointment of non-executive director, P85, lodged by the Minister for Treasury and Resources. Rent Control Tribunal, nomination of chairman and members, P86, lodged by the Minister for Housing and Communities. Jersey Police Complaints Authority, appointment of members, P87, lodged by the Minister for Home Affairs. Draft Marriage and Civil Partnership Amendment Jersey Law 2000, P88, lodged by the Minister for Home Affairs. Composition of Rent Tribunal, P89, lodged by Deputy Southern. Composition of Rent Tribunal Amendment, lodged by the Council of Ministers. Pension Plus Scheme, lodged by Deputy Scott of St Brelard, P90. Cost of Living Crisis, Measures Affecting Andiam Homes Rent Increases, P92, lodged by Deputy Ward. Trainee Minimum Wage, P93, lodged by Deputy Andrews of St Helier. There are a few items that have been withdrawn in accordance with Standing Order 34.1. The proposers of the following propositions have informed the greffier that they are to be withdrawn. Mini Budget 2022, Amendment P80, lodged by Deputy Scott. Mini Budget 7th Amendment, lodged by Deputy Andrews. Mini Budget 8th Amendment, lodged by Deputy Andrews. And the Draft Community Cost Bonus Amendment Jersey Regulations 3rd Amendment, lodged by Deputy Andrews. We now move on to item F, appointment of ministers, committees and panels. And the first item is the appointment of the members of the Privileges and Procedures Committee. In accordance with Standing Order 122.9, the Assembly is due to appoint a member from the Scrutiny Liaison Committee to the Privileges and Procedures Committee, and I invite the Chair to make her nomination.
Thank you, ma'am. The Scrutiny Liaison Committee has nominated Deputy Feltham as a member of PPC. I therefore would like to nominate Deputy Feltham as a member of PPC. Thank you.
Is the nomination seconded?
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate Deputy Scott.
Is that nomination seconded? In accordance with Standing Order 122.12, we will go to a secret ballot. I'll invite the usher to distribute ballot papers. Members should write the name of the member. Oh, sorry, I didn't ask if there were any other nominations. Sorry. No other nominations? Okay. So I'll ask the usher to distribute the ballot papers. Members should write the name of the member whom they wish to appoint to PPC. So that is either Deputy Feltham or Deputy Scott. Once the ballots have been collected, members are reminded that this is a secret ballot, so you don't need to write your name on the top, just the name of the person who you wish to vote for. Yes, Deputy Scott.
Madam Le Greffier, is there no opportunity for the candidates to speak?
No.
Thank you.
There's no provision within standing orders for that. It's just straight to a secret
Thank you.
vote. Tim.
Hi, it's Deputy Ward. Can you confirm that you've got my vote in the chat? Thank you.
We have indeed, Deputy Ward. Thank you for that.
Thank you, ma'am.
So if all members have cast their votes, I'll ask the usher and the assistant greffier to collect the voting.
Ma'am, may I take the opportunity to ask if I can be excused later on to attend a funeral, please?
Yes, we'll make a note of that, Contar.
Sorry, ma'am, could I be excused at 10 o'clock? I have got a doctor's appointment.
Noted also. The votes are being collected. The assistant greffier and usher will now retire to count the vote. I think it's only proper we move on to the next item, which is the appointment of members of the Public Accounts Committee. There is a nomination by the chair of the Public Accounts Committee for the appointment of the Conotab of St Juan as an elected member to that committee. Is the nomination seconded?
Yes.
Are there any other nominations? Very well. If there are no other nominations, I declare the Conotab of St Juan appointed as a member of the Public Accounts Committee. There is also a nomination by the chair of the Public Accounts Committee for the appointment of unelected members to that committee. It's a requirement under Standing Order 124.1 that at least 14 days before the meeting during which the unelected members are to be appointed, notice be given to the greffier of the intended nominees, and the nominations must be distributed to members. Those requirements have been met. In accordance with Standing Order 124.4, I invite the Chair, Deputy Feltham of the PAC, to make her nominations.
Thank you, ma'am. I would like to nominate Mr. Graham Phipps, Mr. Philip Taylor and Mr. Matthew Woodhams to sit as lay members on the Public Accounts Committee. They bring experience, expertise, knowledge and continuity to the committee. I would like to thank them for giving what will be considerable time and commitment over the committee's term of office. I would also like to say that the recruitment process attracted a highly competitive field of candidates, and I would like to thank all of those people that put their names forward, as well as the officers for administering the process so well, and also the greffier and the practice director of the Law Officers Department for giving their time to sit on the appointment panel with me. And I make the nomination. Thank you.
Just for members' information, under Standing Order 124.2, nominations from other members may be considered, but notice of such nominations must be given to the greffier at least 2 clear working days before the meeting, and no other nominations were received. So as there were no other nominations, I declare Mr Graham Phipps, Mr Philip Taylor and Mr Matthew Woodhams appointed as members of the PAC. The next item we have on the order paper is the appointment of the members of the Children, Education and Home Affairs Scrutiny Panel. In accordance with Standing Order 125.1, I invite the Chair, Madam Curtis, to indicate the number of members she's seeking for the panel.
I would like to nominate Deputy Labby, and that will make 3 on our panel.
Is the nomination seconded?
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any other nominations? Sorry.
Ma'am, I think she is referring to the Constable of Grooville.
My apologies.
So the nomination is for the Constable of Grooville. Is the nomination seconded?
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any other nominations? No. If there are no other nominations, I declare the Constable of Grooville as a member of the Children, Education and Home Affairs Scrutiny Panel. The final item we have under this section is the appointment of the Jersey Police Authority, for which there is an explanatory note on the consolidated order paper. There are 2 vacancies on the authority to be filled. The process is that nominations are made on the floor of the chamber, and each nomination must be seconded. If more than 2 members are nominated, there will be a secret ballot. The 2 members who receive the largest numbers of votes will be elected to the panel. In the ballot, each member will be able to cast up to 2 votes. So I therefore invite nominations for the membership of the Jersey Police Authority from the floor of the Assembly.
I'd like to nominate Deputy Lyndon Farnham and Deputy Rob Ward.
Thank you, Deputy Miles. So Deputies Farnham and Ward have been nominated. Are those nominations seconded?
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any other nominations? Deputy Lehay-Brown.
Excuse me, Ma'am. I just note, having read it, that it says, in addition, it was recognised in 2014 that serving on the Children, Education and Home Affairs Scrutiny Panel could potentially constitute a thing of interest. Is that only for the current chair or for previous chair?
I think it would only apply to the current chair, Deputy.
Thank you for the clarification.
Are there any other nominations? Very well. If there are no other nominations, then I can declare that Deputies Farnham and Ward have been elected as members of the Jersey Police Authority. There are no matters under G, matters of privilege. Under H, petitions. Under E, I can this item I can advise the Assembly that one e-petition recently reached 5,000 signatures, namely the e-petition entitled "Introduce an Immediate Reduction in Road Fuel Duty." In due course, under the arrangement of public business for future meetings, the Chair of PPC will invite members whether they wish to consider this e-petition in committee at a future meeting. Okay. The results are in for the representative of the Scrutiny Liaison Committee on PPC. Deputy Scott received 16 votes. Deputy Feltham received 29. I can duly then announce that Deputy Feltham has been elected as a member of the Privileges and Procedures Committee. Come to written questions in accordance to what's on the order paper. Now we come to oral questions with notice. Sorry.
Would it be appropriate if I seek leave of the Assembly to consider the matter that was raised because of the holiday period and the extent that I'd signalled that we were going to seek to have an in-committee debate on the Common External Relations Policy at the end of the business, order of business. This has been consulted with the bailiff and the greffier. Members have been advised, and I would seek leave to, at this moment, ma'am, to seek permission to insert that in the order paper as the relevant notice was given.
The matter is listed on.
It's already been
order,
done. It doesn't need any clarification then.
I don't think so.
That's fine. Thank you, ma'am.
Do we need to do it? We will actually cover that, but just before we get on to public business, when we discuss, there's a few items for which the lodging period needs to be reduced, and I think we will deal with that matter at that point there later this morning.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Very well, we now come to oral questions with notice. The first question on the order paper is from Deputy Southern to the Minister for Treasury and Resources. Deputy Southern is, of course, marked excuse this morning. So we move on to question 2, which is Deputy Kovac to the Minister for Social Security. Deputy Kovac.
Thank you. My first question to the Social Security Minister. Given the report accompanying the mini budget highlights that approximately 1,000 households claim the community cost bonus out of the 7,000 that are eligible, will the Minister explain what actions, if any, will be undertaken to encourage eligible households to apply for the bonus, and what confidence she has that all those eligible for that bonus will apply to receive it?
Minister.
Thank you, ma'am. I thank the Deputy for a question. In the section of the report accompanying the mini-budget that the Deputy refers to, it also states that Government will undertake a communication campaign which will aim to highlight the community cost bonus and encourage applications from the estimated as well as 7,000 eligible households that do not currently apply for it. The communication campaign will run throughout the autumn, and I'm pleased to advise that the first phase has already been launched, with full-page adverts being included in all parish magazines, which have already begun distribution recently and over the next couple of weeks. The Deputy may also be aware of the amendment lodged to the mini-budget, which will further extend eligibility for the bonus to households with a tax liability. At present, households with a tax liability are not eligible for the bonus, so that may increase that will increase eligibility, and our campaign will need some further amendment to factor the additional households into the communications campaign if the Assembly agree to it. I'm confident that the campaign, which is extensive, will raise awareness and uptake of the bonus among eligible islanders. We've already received over 600 applications for the bonus this year. We can't, however, control whether someone chooses to apply for the bonus or indeed understand why they may choose not to do so. I would encourage all islanders to watch for the upcoming marketing campaign and to check their eligibility, which is on gov.je. There's a section under benefits and financial support where information about all our benefits appears. I'd also encourage all states members to raise awareness of the bonus in their own districts and with their own parishioners and constituents. Thank you.
Deputy Kovac, do you have a follow-up question?
Can I just ask, when did the application period started? What are the steps to apply? What documents are required? And what are the waiting times to receive it if approved?
Thank you, Deputy. I believe that the bonus can be applied for either online or over the telephone. There is an application process. I have to confess I'm not aware how long it takes to process the application, and I'm afraid I have forgotten the last part of your question. Sorry.
What documents are required?
Again, I'm not sure. I believe that we will have to confirm to the department that they don't receive income support. They'll have to confirm that one member has been ordinarily resident in Jersey for at least 5 years, At present, the applicants should not pay income tax, and that's normally something that's checked by the department with Revenue Jersey. Clearly, going forward, if the amendment's accepted, there will be a tax liability, and that again will be checked with Revenue Jersey as people make applications. If we did have 14,000 extra households applying, that may take a little bit more time to process, but my department will work as fast as possible to make sure that the bonus is issued as quickly as it can be to qualifying households.
Minister. Deputy Mezek.
Thank you, ma'am. Does the Minister regard it as a failure somewhere along the line that something like this exists and there are thousands of people who are eligible for it who aren't claiming it? And if she does regard it as a failure of administration up until this point, in what way has that influenced her thinking on how they put forward this communications plan to get more people to apply for it?
I don't think it's necessarily the fault of government that people have not applied for the bonus. The bonus is there to support families. It has a long history. It was originally the food cost bonus, which was introduced in 2008 to help people with the cost of GST and food. Over the years since then, it has been expanded. And it is not concealed by any means. It's available, as I say, details are on the website. I'm sure it is publicised both by members and by the department. There's no question, there's no element of concealing it. It's a surprise that there may be so many families who don't apply for it. Some people don't like to claim benefits, and people may have felt they didn't need it. Perhaps as the cost of living increases have more impact on more families, we would ordinarily see an increase. But the communications campaign, as I say, is very thorough, and we are aiming to make sure that as many people who qualify for the benefit claim it. I can't control whether people do apply for any benefit, but I hope that those who are eligible and who would benefit from receiving the increased sum, if the mini budget's increased, that people will apply for it this year.
Supplementary, Deputy Mezek.
Thank you, ma'am. If it's not a failure that so many thousands of people aren't claiming it now, then presumably it won't be considered a failure if nobody applies for it as well after this communications package. So I guess can I ask the Minister once again what has been done to look into the reasons why people aren't claiming this right now, and what tangible action will she be taking to proactively approach those who are eligible but aren't claiming it now to ensure that they do get that help that they're perfectly well entitled to?
Thank you, Deputy. Ma'am, the issue with this benefit is it has to be applied for because we cannot necessarily identify specific households who are eligible. The households do not receive income support, so they may not be in our records. They're not liable to pay income tax, so we can't identify them through Revenue Jersey households. And as I say, we have the 5-year period of residence. So we don't necessarily have the data to go and target people directly. The communications plan will be thorough, as I say. It covers adverts in the JP, Bailiwick Express, parish magazines. We'll be working with stakeholders in parish halls. We will do everything we can to raise awareness of the bonus, but if people don't apply, then I'm not quite sure what we do. I'm not quite sure why action hasn't been taken in years past to further promote this, to promote the bonus, but we are certainly doing that now this year.
Deputy Elves.
Thank you, sir. And the Minister partially answered my question, which was going to be why, if the department are aware of the number of people that should be applying for this, why are they not contacting individuals directly? And she mentioned that they don't have the data. Can the Minister elaborate on why the department don't have this data or cannot get access to this data?
I think we don't have the data, as I said, because we don't have them on our income support system. They're not receiving income support. I can't explain why that may be, because of their earnings, but they're not liable to pay income tax. So government, it would appear, do not have direct records of people who don't pay tax and don't receive income support. I think government cannot necessarily keep records on every member of the population. There are some quite serious and far-reaching implications of government trying to collect data on people simply because it wants the data. All we can do is raise awareness of the bonus, and we are seeking to do that in a very concerted way this year.
Supplementary, Deputy Ellis.
Yes, please, ma'am. Thank you. So can the Minister elaborate on how she will be measuring whether this communications campaign will be a success then?
The success of the campaign will be determined by the number of people who apply for the bonus. I would say that the estimates that we have of 7,000, possibly going up to 14,000, are estimates. I'm not sure where those estimates come from, I have to confess, but hopefully, as I say, we will see more people applying for the bonus this winter, and the campaign and working with stakeholders and indeed states members hopefully will produce the benefits that we would all like to see.
Deputy Ward.
Thank you, Marvin. Sorry. May I ask the Minister, does the Minister feel that there may be a stigma attached to applying for benefits? And if so, what is being done to try and reduce the stigma in the application? Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Ward. Thank you, ma'am. I think you may be right. I think I have been told by one of the third sector groups that there are certain sectors of the community who do not like coming to government, who don't like applying for benefits, who simply do not like liaising with government. There are other people who feel that applying for benefits is equivalent to taking money from charity. They don't like having to ask for help. There are all sorts of reasons why people may not claim benefits. As I say, we will work with stakeholders to try to promote the availability of the benefit and make sure that people do come forward to take it. There should be no stigma. That we have a vast range of benefits to help a wide range of people, and the benefits are there to help the low-income sections of our community, and I can only encourage them and hope that states members also encourage parishioners who may need support from government to apply for any benefits that are available to them.
Supplementary, ma'am?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. May I ask the Minister, does she feel that the process of application can be intrusive, for example, asking for months and months of bank statements, and that may be one of the reasons why people aren't applying for these much needed benefits?
Thank you, ma'am. I think, Deputy Ward, your question is wider than just the community cost bonus. The community cost bonus, I think, is a relatively straightforward application process. We don't ask for lots of bank statements. As I say, the requirements are that you're not receiving income support and you're not liable to pay income tax at the moment, and that you've been resident in Jersey for 5 years, which I presume we can establish from our own records. There is an application process, and it is appropriate that we do, on occasion, check. We have to means test benefits, and we have to check that we are paying benefits to people who are truly entitled to receive them, and to minimise cases where benefits are paid in error or to people who don't need them. We have to make sure that taxpayer money goes to people who truly need it and not to people who may be, it's rare, but making fraudulent applications. So there does have to be some rigour around the application process, I would suggest.
Deputy Kovac, the opportunity for a final question comes to you. No, fine. Okay, we then move on to question number 3, which is from Deputy Andrews to the Minister for Treasury and Resources.
I'd be interested to know, is the Minister looking into reviewing stamp duty rates, and if they are going to be implemented in terms of reforms, when will it be? Thank you.
Deputy Andrews, just for, as a formality, it's usual to read out the question as printed on the order paper, but you didn't go too far away from the original. Treasury Minister.
Thank you, ma'am. I can confirm that the stamp duty rates of residential and commercial property transactions are being examined as part of the overall stamp duty review being conducted by my department. That review will conclude in 2023 in time for next year's budget.
Supplementary. Deputy Mezek.
Thank you, ma'am. The current limit for first-time buyer stamp duty relief is £500,000. Is that adequate?
Ma'am, the Deputy knows that it would be inappropriate for me to draw conclusions when the review is not yet completed. Thank you.
Supplementary.
Thank you, ma'am. So I take it from the Minister's answer then that there is some possibility that he may consider in the current housing crisis, where everybody out there absolutely knows how terrible the situation is, that it is theoretically possible that £500,000 could be an appropriate limit for first-time buyers' stamp duty relief. Is that really the impression he wants to leave out there with members of the public?
So the Deputy knows well that during the course of a review, which is being undertaken by the department, it would be inappropriate to draw conclusions one way or the other. So he can ask me a question from the right or the left, sir. I'm not going to be drawn into reaching a conclusion out with the evidence that's being produced.
Deputy, you've had a supplementary, Deputy Messick. If there are no other questions, Deputy Andrews, did you want to have a final? Okay, then we will move on to question 4, which is from Deputy Messick to the Chief Minister.
Thank you, ma'am. Will the Chief Minister advise what measurable actions, if any, the new government will take to reverse the trend of growing inequality, which Jersey has witnessed over the last decade?
Thank you, ma'am. So the government will focus on improving the quality of people's lives. Under our 100-day plan, we are taking action by lifting the minimum wage to £10.50 per hour from November. We will also be providing school lunches across all schools and free period products in schools and across the community. Our mini-budget will put money back into people's pockets at a time when they are under pressure from rising prices. Further measurable actions to improve the quality of life will be included in the government plan, which will be lodged in 2 weeks' time. This will include support for families to buy their own home and higher stamp duty for buy-to-let purchases. We are delivering rapid help and will continue to respond to the needs of islanders throughout our term in office.
Supplementary.
Thank you, ma'am. It was noticeable in that answer that the phrase quality of life rather than inequality, which is what my question was actually getting at, was not how she put forward her answer to that. So can I ask the Chief Minister then if we can anticipate that the question of whether we become a more or less equal society over the coming years, having become a more unequal society over the last 10 years, is not one which will be a priority for her government to answer?
Sir, ma'am, excuse me. It is absolutely of vital importance that islanders experience a greater quality of life as we progress through the work of this government. There are many different measures for measuring income inequality Ma'am, I think it would be unwise to get into that debate right here and right now. There will be, as I said in my previous response, a number of measures that will be used and they will be identified within the government plan, whether that be the percentage of people who are satisfied with the environment within which they live, the percentage of people who have access, particularly children, who have access to open space in the environment in which they live, or whether that might be a relative low income after housing costs. There are many measures that we as a government take very seriously.
Deputy Feltham.
Thank you, ma'am. The Chief Minister just outlined some of the types of measures that may well be in the government plan. Can she take this opportunity to confirm that the reduction of income inequality will remain a priority for this government?
As the Deputy is, I'm sure, aware through her scrutiny work, the government is currently in the process of finalising its common strategic priorities, which will be published at the beginning of next month. And therefore, it would be not the right moment to explain that one way or another. But we very much look forward to sharing our common strategic priorities with members at the beginning of next month.
Supplementary. Deputy Ward.
Thank you, Ma'am. May I ask the Chief Minister, that given rental levels and the cost of rents is one of the biggest drivers to creating inequality, does the Chief Minister believe that inequality can genuinely be addressed without addressing rental levels and legislating for that? Thank you, Ma'am.
Legislating to change rental levels is a difficult and complex political mechanism. Just at the weekend, there was significant criticism of the Scottish Government, who have recently tried to impose restrictions on rental levels in that country. And there was a great outcry, I think, could be expressed from many quarters who were concerned about the other impacts that would have. However, sir, Ma'am, what we are very aware of is the impact of housing costs, and we will be bringing forward measures that will assist members of our community with those.
Supplementary, Deputy Ward.
Yes, please, Ma'am. May I ask the Chief Minister, does she believe, what level of income spent on rent does she believe is acceptable? What's her definition of rental stress? Thank you, Ma'am.
Ma'am, just recently, the Income Distribution Survey identified relative low income after housing costs, and that is relative low income is calculated at below 60% of the median, which has greatly increased over recent years. We can see that after housing costs, children are in Jersey, 23% of children are in that bracket, as opposed to 27% in the United Kingdom, which is the alternative measure that is provided. This is, Ma'am, an area where we will drive our policies to ensure that we do see improvements. Of course, it is a matter of balance for every household, and we want to see people have the biggest number of pounds in their pockets and the greatest spending power for their household and their incomes.
Final supplementary, Deputy Mezek.
Thank you, ma'am. And I asked this question after 10 years of build-up of statistics and evidence from the government's own departments itself, which show that over that last 10 years, there's been a real terms earnings freeze in the island, poverty has increased, and the rich have got richer whilst the poor have got poorer. So can we take it from the Minister's answers to these questions thus far that in her strategic plan and government plan that there will be no stated aim of reversing this trend over these 4 years?
Ma'am, as I said in my answers, we are still working on defining exactly what those common strategic priorities are, and we look forward to sharing them with members of the Assembly and the wider community as soon as they are ready. We are sadly not alone in the world in terms of seeing incomes flatlining to a great extent, and that is a cause of a number of factors in the Western world, and it is one that I think we will not be alone as a government in trying our very best to address.
Very well, we now move to question 5. Deputy Alves will ask of the Minister for Social Security.
Thank you, ma'am. Will the Minister commit to extending the health access scheme to include people with long-term illnesses? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. The Health Access Scheme was introduced at the end of 2020 to help people with low incomes access general practice medical services. Under the scheme, people in receipt of income support or Pension Plus can attend a surgery consultation with a GP for a fee of £12, with a nurse for £9, and there is no surgery consultation fee for children in these households. This group of 11,000 low-income people will include many who also have long-term illness. Long-term illness is not carved out of the scheme. I will commit to reviewing this scheme, among other benefits, in my ministerial plan, but it's too soon to make a commitment as to the outcome of that review.
Deputy Alves.
Thank you, ma'am. Does the Minister recognise that those with long-term illnesses will often it will often affect their income or their dispensable income quite significantly when they are regularly visiting the GP. So will the minister, if the minister won't necessarily commit to looking at them having access to the health access scheme, will she commit to looking into having some kind of support for these individuals in the long term? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. The Health Access Scheme was specifically designed to help people with low income access general practice services by reducing the cost. There may be people with long-term illnesses who are not low income, and their needs may very well be different. The support needed for people with long-term conditions needs to be understood and may need a different approach. I think it would be a mistake to narrow our consideration of the support for people with long-term illness purely to the Health Access Scheme, and it needs a more thorough review.
Deputy Mezek.
Thank you, ma'am. Would the Minister accept that it would be a relatively easy change to make to the Health Access Scheme to simply add a new criterion into it that those who are receiving a disability benefit, such as long-term incapacity allowance, can simply be added to the scheme and benefit from it as well?
Minister.
Thank you, ma'am. I don't think those people are necessarily excluded from the scheme. I have to confess I don't understand how Health Access Scheme works with all our other long-term benefits. We have long-term incapacity allowance, long-term care. There are numerous benefits that may be available to people with long-term conditions. I think the Health Access Scheme will be subject to review, and as I say, it's too early. I don't think we can necessarily have a one-size-fits-all expansion of the Health Access Scheme, and we need to look more widely as to how we support people who have long-term illness, whether or not they are on low incomes.
Ma'am, we've heard in answers to multiple questions this morning so far a lack of an ability to give any sort of commitment because of ongoing reviews. Will the Minister accept that that's an extremely frustrating thing to hear from members of this Assembly who want to get things done on behalf of our constituents? And will she not, at this point at least, commit to looking to extending the Health Access Scheme to those who are in receipt of some form of disability benefit on the basis that it won't cost very much at all to the government, but will make a huge difference to those who are struggling to get access to the healthcare that they need on the basis of cost?
Thank you, ma'am. I think Deputy will understand that it's impossible to say yes to increasing a scheme without knowing what the implications of in terms of numbers of claimants and the cost of that may be. It's very easy to say it won't cost very much. It may in fact cost a great deal. People with disabilities and long-term conditions are supported in a number of ways through the income support scheme and through other benefits, and I think without reviewing the operation of all those schemes together, it's impossible to make a commitment at this stage, but a review will be undertaken next year.
Final supplementary. No. We'll move on then to question 6, which is Deputy Feltham asking of the Minister for Housing and Communities.
Thank you, ma'am. Will the Minister outline what analysis he has undertaken to ensure that homes currently in construction or planned for construction by Andium Homes and other social housing providers will meet the needs of families requiring social rented housing?
Minister.
Thank you, ma'am. I thank the deputy for her question and apologise for it is not a simple answer. Different assessments take place for this. In terms of demand, Affordable Housing Gateway statistics are published monthly. These set out how many and what types of homes are needed by those waiting for social rented home. This is the analysis of our current unmet demand relative to the Gateway. In considering future requirements beyond the current list, we consider the anticipated effects of changes we expect to impact demand. This includes the effects of future changes in the Gateway criteria that I hope to make. In terms of supply, the availability of land to meet social housing requirements was considered in the development of the Bridging Island Plan. The planning inspectors agreed that the identified supply of more than 1,400 affordable homes, which includes social rent and assisted purchases, was adequate to meet anticipated demand. The Bridging Island Plan provides the framework for homes to be built, but it is not until planning applications are approved and homes are built that the actual number and type of new social rented homes becomes known. This data is captured and monitored in the planning process. In the case of Andium Homes, I play a role in influencing and approving their developments. My role is, in a large part, to ensure that the homes coming forward by Andium represent the homes that we need. In the case of other rental social housing providers, I sadly have less ability to know what their plans are, as they are not state-owned. I do, however, hope to build an open and constructive relationship with these providers with greater visibility and collaboration going forward.
Thank you, Ma'am. Has the Minister considered what effect the sale of family homes in estates such as Clos de Roncière and Le Cinq-Chênes will have on the availability of homes suitable for families requiring social rented housing?
Thank you, Ma'am. As the Deputy knows, we are currently building more homes to replace those that are sold with better quality and better builds. So in terms of what the consequences are, I should suggest that there is very little consequence as there are so many more new homes currently under construction.
Thank you, ma'am. The Minister referred to the number of new homes which are under construction. Could he remind the Assembly how many applications there currently are for affordable housing on the Gateway, and which of those two numbers is the higher one?
I'm going to have to come back to the Deputy on that matter. I'll let him know when I have that information available.
Ma'am, I can help him out at least to the extent that the amount of homes that are currently in construction is significantly less than the number of applications there are on the Gateway, which means there is an inadequate amount of supply being planned. On that basis, then, would the Minister confirm to having some form of discussion with Andium, with the SOJDC and whatever other relevant government agencies there are to see what can be done to increase the amount of affordable housing provided on government-owned sites, rather than the appalling legacy that was left behind from the previous government of allowing government-owned land to be used for homes that are unaffordable?
Thank you, Ma'am. Thank you, Deputy, for that point. We are currently working with the JDC, SOJDC and Andium in identifying sites that they can construct more homes on. That land has to become available from the state's-owned land bank, and we're currently in discussion with them as to how best to release that land.
Conatable of St Brelard.
Thank you, ma'am. Would the Minister tell members what criteria Andium used to establish whether their housing should be sold to the general market or not?
Minister.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, Conatable, for the question. The simple answer is I don't know, so I think I'm going to have to refer back to Andium and ask that question and come back to you at a later date.
Deputy Farnham.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am, beg your pardon. Thank you, ma'am. Given the Minister's quite rightly identified the urgent need for housing and especially affordable homes, do you therefore support the cessation or the pause in the housing development in Kensington Place?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Deputy, for that question. As a matter, it saddens me that we had to suspend that application and that build. I would prefer it to be carried on. However, I'm confident in the knowledge that we are currently constructing a suitable number of houses to meet the demand that's coming up. Now, obviously, one thing which we have released is the 169 homes in Northern Quarter. So that's been an addition since that suspension.
Supplementary, Deputy Farnham. Deputy Coles.
Thank you, Ma'am. Will the Minister confirm whether a review has been taking place on the properties of South Hill and the waterfront to reassess the number of affordable homes that will be provided in these developments?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Deputy, for your question. I'm trying to understand exactly what you mean by that. There is obviously a percentage of homes which have been allocated under those developments as affordable or social housing, and I'm aware that the JDC are currently adjusting that accordingly depending on the viability of the scheme. But unless the Deputy has more to his question, happily take a further question.
Supplementary.
Yes, ma'am. Can the Minister confirm if this is an upward percentage increase, or whether it is looking to maintain the status quo.
It may maintain the status quo, but it may well be an increase. It will certainly not be a decrease.
Final supplementary, Deputy Faltham.
Thank you, Ma'am. During the Minister's answers, he referred to building houses, and my question was around homes for families. So specifically, I would like to ask the Minister what he considers to be the type of basic standard of accommodation that he would like to be providing families, maybe a family with 2 adults and 2 children, who require social rented housing.
I presume you prefer, obviously I would prefer to use the language of homes as opposed to houses. It's one thing which is quite interesting was that in the Bridging Island plan, I noticed that her party voted extensively against on the Bridging Island plan many of the sites which were suggested for building family homes, which I'd like to be reassured that they didn't do that, but from what I understand from the voting record, appears to be that that consideration wasn't one of the thoughts of the Reform Party. But in terms of actually the mix of homes, obviously that comes from the Gateway, and obviously Andium are developing homes as well as homes in all sorts of varieties that they need, which are appropriate to the current demand.
We now move on to question 7. Deputy Ward will ask of the Minister for Children and Education.
Thank you, ma'am. May I ask the Minister, given reports of expenditure of nearly £1 million over the last 2 years on cover staff in secondary schools, will the Minister state the projected spend for the autumn term in this area, and will she also advise how many teaching vacancies are currently unfilled in all schools? Thank you, ma'am.
Minister.
Thank you, Deputy. Ma'am, the projected spend in this area for the autumn term is in the range of 230 to 170,000. It is not possible to be more accurate with the forecast, as cover costs vary significantly due to the various factors such as sickness, parental leave, meetings, PPA, which is planning, preparation and assessment for teachers, leadership release, courses, and so on. Schools will have some control over this, but especially around sickness is something unknown, and also COVID impact, obviously a factor too. Teacher vacancies in all schools total 37, not including parental leave. These roles are being covered by schools until recruitment is completed. The additional 10 teachers' positions are being covered due to the parental leave.
Supplementary, Deputy Ward.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Can the Minister confirm whether UK agencies are being used to fill vacancies, both with cover staff and with staff in a temporary basis? And if so, how much more expensive is it to do that? Thank you, ma'am.
From my understanding and data that I have in front of me, we don't use UK agencies, but I'm happy to go back to the Deputy. From what I know, all cover is internal and useful of our supply teachers.
Thank you, Deputy. Deputy Coles.
Thank you, ma'am. Does the Minister know the number of cover staff available in Jersey at any given time?
It's really very, very dependent, because some people are available only for limited amount of time. Some people are available for a year. It's really very difficult to give exact numbers, because like on Friday, I received a letter and there was lots of unexpected things happening. But what's important to emphasize that we do have a solution and we do have flexibility, and we're working hard that it will be a teacher in front of each class and lessons will proceed as planned.
Final supplementary, Deputy Ward.
Yes, ma'am, sorry. May I ask the Minister, she just stated that there will be a teacher in front of a class and lessons will proceed as planned. can she guarantee that that teacher will be a specialist teacher, for example, in subjects such as maths, English and science for exam groups? Or will lessons proceed, but not really as planned, but just to have a body in front of the class? Thank you, Ma'am.
Thank you for Deputy for his question, and I need to look into this to make sure that is exactly. Another thing which is really important to raise for Deputy question, we recognize shortage in teachers in science, for example, and this is the reason that this year we have graduate teacher training which added 25,000 bursary, especially for the subject where we have shortages. So we ensure that during the year we would train teachers for the subject that we do have shortages, and these shortages around UK as well.
Very well, we move on to question 8, which is from Deputy Feltham. Deputy Farnham, got the wrong glasses on. Deputy Farnham will ask the following question of the Minister for Infrastructure.
Thank you, ma'am. Following the announcement by the government that the housing development in Kensington Place has been paused, will the Minister inform the Assembly exactly what financial arrangements, if any, have been made with the developer?
Ma'am, the contractual arrangements for this site rest between Andium Homes and their chosen developer. As such, any financial arrangements will have to be agreed between these two parties and will not involve the Government of Jersey directly, certainly not at this stage.
I think to simplify the question, how much is it costing the taxpayer? Does the Minister know?
At this stage, I'm afraid to have to tell the Deputy that I don't know. Those discussions are still taking place.
Deputy Messick.
Thank you, ma'am. If it's the case that this is a matter between the developer and Andium Homes, if there is at some point to be any cost to Andium Homes for this delay, can the Minister give us his assurance that Andium Homes will be compensated for that?
Yes, I can. So that's highly likely, yes.
Supplementary.
Highly likely is good. Can we do even better than that and say a certainty? After all, the government can give that guarantee.
Yes, ma'am, why not? Yes. A firm yes.
Final supplementary, Deputy Farnham.
Remembering back to my days as a minister, I would have been severely chastised for making decisions without knowing the financial consequences. So I'll ask another question. Does the minister know roughly how long the delay will be to this vitally important development of affordable homes?
Ma'am, as the Deputy knows, there's a review taking place, which I think is due to be issued on the 20th, and I can't say very much more than that until that review comes out.
Very well, we move on to question 9. Deputy Coles will ask of the Minister for Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mum. Will the Minister advise what guidelines, if any, there are in relation to the materials that can be mixed with green waste to make soil improver, and what measures are in place to ensure that toxic materials do not get included?
Ma'am, composting at La Colla is carried out under licence issued by the Minister of Environment and regulated through the Waste Management Jersey Law 2005. I can confirm that all wastes are inspected for contamination, and any contamination found is removed from the composting process. Only 2 materials are ever accepted. That's green waste and clean plasterboard, which has to be delivered separately. And it should be stated that not all compost produced contains plasterboard. Compost is made and tested in accordance with the British Standards Institution, which is publicly available, and specification for composted materials. It doesn't mean a great deal to me, but it's PAS 100 2018, if that helps. Thank you.
Supplementary. There's no other questions in relation to that one. We move on to question 10. The Conotop of St Martin will ask the following question of the Minister for Home Affairs. Oh, she's not here, sorry. Then we move on to question 11. Deputy Messick will ask a question of the Minister for Housing and Communities.
Thank you, ma'am. Will the Minister bring forward legislation to ban inflationary rent increases and to introduce open-ended tenancies, and if so, when?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your question, Deputy. In the short term I've been Minister, I hope I've made it clear that I have no intention to impose authoritarian powers to ban normal market activity. That said, I am fully aware of the difficulties faced by some private sector tenants at present, and I have acted quickly to re-establish the Rent Control Tribunal under existing legislation. The tribunal will have the power to intervene in respect of unreasonable rent levels, in respect of tenancies that fall under its remit. The new tribunal members will also work with my officers to review their powers and establish a more modern framework for regulating rental levels. This is likely to result in new legislation in 2024. I would hope, therefore, that the Deputy will support the appointment of the new panel members at the next state sitting. I've also already taken steps to update the laws relating to the duration of tenancies. This will include the right to an open-ended tenancy. This is covered under the updated residential tenancy law. A law drafting brief has already been prepared and detailed work is due to commence early next year. I hope to publish a new legal framework during 2023 for a full public consultation.
Thank you, ma'am. The start of that question, that answer sounded like the answer was no, and towards the end it sounded like we were getting slightly closer to a yes. So I guess I could ask him if he could give a comprehensible version of that answer. But could I instead ask him whether the position that was outlined in the answer to written question 56/2022 by his predecessor, which did confirm that in the new residential tenancy law there would be provisions put in place to have open-ended tenancies with security of tenure for tenants and to limit rent increases by some sort of metric such as RPI, remains the plan, and that tenants who are suffering in this housing crisis can look forward to a time, hopefully soon, where the law will protect them from excessive rent increases as a matter of law, and not just hopefully the market will sort it all out.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm not sure, I don't know that the Deputy actually was listening to my answer here. We're trying to build a new law which is based on a 1946 original law. And obviously there is an amendment to the mini-budget which is due for debate whether later in this session. So there's going to be much more information on that. I don't want to be drawn into debates about the rights and wrongs of where the market is at the moment. I think the most important thing is we get this rent control tribunal, we get the panel set up. That will enable us to update the rules and laws and establish a far better protection for both landlord and tenant.
Ma'am, sorry, my question referred to the new residential tenancy law for which work is already going on to establish. I was not referring to the 1946 Rent Control Tribunal law, so I'm wondering if it's possible that the Deputy could give an answer that was relevant to my question on the residential tenancy law and not the law that I didn't mention.
Ma'am, as the Deputy knows, the new residential tenancy law is updating the 1946 law and in the process of being done. And it's obviously under discussion and it's under development right now. I don't quite understand, I can't actually say anything because until we actually have the policy fully developed and then there will be a full consultation, then the Deputy is entitled to ask more deep and meaningful questions.
Monsieur le Deputy Ward.
Thank you, ma'am. May I ask the Minister, if his rent tribunal is successful and a tenant brings a rent increase and the tribunal says, no, that can't happen, what reassurance can he give to tenants that they won't just simply be told, you're leaving in 3 months because we can get another tenant? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Deputy Ward, for your question. I don't know how I'm able to preempt what tribunal panel members are going to suggest in terms of rent freeze or what's appropriate. I don't have a crystal ball, unfortunately.
Do you have a supplementary, Deputy Ward?
Well, the first question wasn't answered, ma'am. It was about what will happen if the rent tribunal, I gave him the outcome of the rent tribunal, and they would say you cannot put the rent up. But what is the next stage to stop landlords simply asking tenants to leave, which is the reason why rent tribunals are not used, because tenants are fearful of just simply being asked to leave their homes.
Thank you, ma'am. Surely, Deputy, that's the idea of setting up a new rent tribunal and updating the law and getting the regulations updated. We want to establish protection for both landlord and tenants. That's really, really important. But until we have this updated law in place, what he's asking cannot be achieved.
Final supplementary, Deputy Mezek.
Thank you. I guess the question has to be based on that very last sentence. Has he just admitted that the setting up of the Rent Control Tribunal under the 1946 law is a complete waste of time, since it sounds like he's just admitted that tenants don't currently have security of tenure until the changes to the residential tenancy law come through? And is he therefore admitting to tenants out there that if they go and avail themselves of the service of this Rent Control Tribunal he is supposedly due to re-establish shortly, that they can come home after their hearing and find their notice to vacate their properties on their doorsteps and there's nothing they can do about it?
Thank you, ma'am. Once again, I'm not quite sure where we're drawing all these conclusions from until we update the law. I mean, let's have the law updated, let's have it debated, let's get it out there in the open, and then we can draw some conclusions after that.
Move on to question 12. Deputy Kovac will ask a question of the Minister for Social Security.
Thank you, ma'am. Will the Minister advise what proposals, if any, she has to replace the Jersey Dental Fitness Scheme to ensure good dental health for our young people? And will she state what funding allocation she is seeking in order to deliver high-quality dental care for young people during her term of office?
Minister.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, Deputy, for the question. As I've already indicated, I'll be committing to review all benefits in my ministerial plan. Access to dental care for children is, I believe, very important, and I've already held preliminary discussions with the Health Minister on this issue. I do wish to improve access to dental services, and funding for that will have to work in conjunction with the reviews and in parallel with the reviews being undertaken in health and community services and public health.
Supplementary.
Can the Minister answer when is it most likely we would see the start of a new dental scheme?
Thank you, ma'am. I can't put a firm timetable on that. I know there are reviews already underway that the Health Minister is working on, and I'm not sure of the timing for those, but clearly it's something that we all want to prioritise as soon as we can.
Deputy House.
Can I bring to the attention, please, of the Minister of Social Security that the dental fitness scheme has not received any increase for 28 years. And can I also ask the Minister that she actually engages with the dental profession on all these matters and the Health Minister, because they need to be included. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. I think, as I've just indicated, we are working with the Health Minister to ensure that funding is available and that there is a revised dental health, that there are revised schemes for dental health for children. I can't speak for what's happened in the past in terms of the level of government subsidy, but that is certainly something that will be considered going further, and I'm sure that the dental profession will be closely involved in all developments. We wouldn't create a scheme without seeking the views of our main stakeholder.
Do you have a supplementary, Deputy Howe?
I'd just like to thank them very much and say we really, the dental profession really wants to work with you. And I think over the last few years, they've been largely ignored on these matters. Thank you.
Deputy Feltham.
Thank you, ma'am. We heard from the Chief Minister earlier that the government plan is in its final stages of preparation. Can the Minister confirm that you have sought to increase funding for the Jersey Dental Fitness Scheme in your discussions amongst the Council of Ministers in relation to the government plan for next year?
Thank you, ma'am. I don't have a specific funding request for the dental health scheme. As I've said, again, it's difficult to allocate funding until you have devised a scheme. That will have to work over the course of this year with the Health Minister. And once we have a scheme approved that also works for the dental profession, we will also review the funding. I would also just mention that the previous Social Security Minister launched a scheme in 2021 which aimed to fully fund children from low-income households with check-ups and necessary treatment. That was a one-off scheme designed to help children access care that they may have missed during the COVID lockdown. That scheme will close this year, and the outcomes of that scheme, we will look at how it performed and any lessons learned, and that will also feed into the work that's done going forward on new dental fitness schemes or amended and improved, hopefully, dental schemes for children.
Final supplementary, Deputy Kovacs. Question 13, it was Deputy Southern, who, as we know, is excused. We move on to question 14. Deputy Coles will ask of the Minister for the Environment.
Thank you, Mum. When will the Minister bring forward a scheme to support households to convert to low-carbon heating systems as per policy HT1 in the carbon neutral roadmap?
Minister.
Mum, the short answer to the Deputy is by the end of the year at the latest. But to put a little more flesh on the bones, the carbon neutral roadmap policy HT1 supporting low carbon heating systems and home insulation says that an incentive scheme to subsidise the replacement of fossil fuel heating systems with non-fossil fuel heating systems will be established and commenced by the end of 2022. This policy was agreed by the last government, and the next step is for this new government to define the details of this policy. I have delegated responsibility for the energy and climate portfolio to Deputy Jeune, and together we are working closely with officers on the detailed design of the policy. The intention is to announce final details of the scheme by the end of 2022 and open it for applications as soon as possible thereafter.
Will the Minister be able to confirm that though the responsibility has been designated to his assistant, that the main Minister will not be putting any budgetary roadblocks in their way?
Ma'am, I'm not sure I recognise the distinction he's drawing there. Deputy Jeune will have delegated responsibility, or does have rather, I should say, delegated responsibility for this area. We work together as a team, and I shall certainly not be putting any roadblocks in the way. I don't think you could find two more diligent and determined ministers in terms of pursuing the carbon neutral roadmap in this assembly.
There are no other questions. Do you want the final supplementary? No. The Connotab is still not with us in the chamber, so we move to the final question, which is Deputy Alves of the Chair of the State's Employment Board.
Thank you, Mum. Sorry, I wasn't expecting that. Will the Chair update the Assembly on any contracts issued to companies that undertake work for the government where the company is not paying their employees the living wage? Thank you.
Ma'am, with Deputy Alves' agreement, the Constable of St John will answer this question.
Thank you, Ma'am. Since 2019, the Government of Jersey requires its suppliers to pay the living wage, and our standard suite of contract terms require this. We're also launching a new supplier code of conduct which sets out our minimum requirements for all our suppliers in order to do business with the Government of Jersey.
Supplementary.
Thank you, Mum. During the last term, there were questions asked about this, and we were told that some contractors were still on old contracts that didn't require them to pay their employees the living wage. Can the Constable please give us details whether these contracts are still in place, and if so, what work, when will they be up for renewal, and what work is being done to ensure that all employees are paid the living wage? Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am. The agreement that was signed in 2019 stated that existing contracts were being updated as they were renewed with a final target date of August 2014. The government is now looking at bringing that date forward and also looking at changing the criteria. The current criteria was for services carried out on government premises for more than 2 hours a day or more than 8 hours a week for 8 consecutive weeks. Both that criteria and the end date are being reviewed.
Deputy Mezek.
Thank you, ma'am. So can the Constable confirm that there are people who are doing work on behalf of the Government of Jersey through contractors who are still currently being paid less than the living wage?
I don't know if that is accurate or not. If the Deputy or any other member has concerns over a specific contract, I'd invite them to contact me with the details. Clearly, the previous government put in place a review of existing contracts as they were renewed, and so I can't answer that this morning. Thank you.
Supplementary, Deputy Alves.
Thank you. What checks, if any, are done with the contractors who claim to be paying the living wage to ensure that they are?
It's very clear in the contract that the contractors and any subcontractors that they employ are to be paid the living wage. I would need to get back to the Deputy in terms of what checks are actually put in place. Thank you.
Very well, that brings to an end oral questions. We now move on to questions to ministers without notice. And the first question period is for the Minister for Health and Social Services. Deputy Mezek.
Thank you, ma'am. The Minister will have heard the questions that were asked of the Social Security Minister earlier about expanding the health access scheme to those with long-term illnesses. Obviously, that's to be paid for through Social Security, but there's a health impact as a result of that policy. Could I therefore ask the Health Minister whether she would support moves to make cheaper access to primary care a priority for those islanders who have long-term illnesses?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Deputy. Just to confirm that work is underway to actually develop a primary care strategy, which will take into account those particular issues, and I'd be happy to bring that back to the Assembly in due course.
Supplementary, ma'am, is the Minister prepared to confirm whether in that work that's being done on primary care, the issue of cost as part of access to that care is being considered, and is there a ministerial direction as part of that work being done to ensure that the cost is brought down so that primary care can become more accessible?
Thank you. I can confirm that we will consider all aspects, both funding and organisation of primary care. At this stage, I don't want to be drawn into any detail, but can give a guarantee to the Deputy that those issues will be considered as part of the work.
Deputy Howell.
Thank you, ma'am. Please can the Minister provide terms of reference for the review of the Jersey Care model and give details of what the 40+ managers employed to plan the care model have been doing since the model was paused in July? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Deputy, for your statement. Yes, I'd be happy to provide details. Obviously, I haven't got those available today, but I'd be able to provide those in due course.
Supplementary.
Will they be provided before the 100 days?
Yes, I can arrange for those to be available at the end of the week.
Deputy Feltham.
Thank you, ma'am. During the ministerial appointments process, the Minister committed to undertaking a review of bullying within her department and reporting to the Assembly on the outcomes. Please, can she provide some details about the progress she has made in relation to this?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Deputy. Yes, since the original discussion took place, we have actually had the publication of the Hugo Massey-Taylor report, which has actually confirmed a lot of the issues that were raised previously. Since that report has been produced, we have undertaken a programme of work called a turnaround plan, again the details of which will be brought to the Assembly. But one of the key components of that turnaround plan is to specifically address the culture within HCS. So there are 3 things that we're doing. The first thing we're doing is to actually appoint a Freedom to Speak Up champion, and that has the involvement of all of the staff involved in the service. The second thing is we're going to appoint or establish a healthcare board who will have oversight of the HR strategy and policies that will be applied within HCS. And in that regard, some of the issues around bullying and harassment will be considered as part of their performance management of the system.
Supplementary.
Thank you for your answer. You did talk a lot about reviews there. Can you give some assurance that we will go beyond reviews and actually see some action so that staff currently working within health and community services feel that this bullying will be tackled?
I think it's absolutely irrefutable that we need to have a zero tolerance approach to bullying and harassment in HCS. And what I can assure the Deputy is that every effort will be made to make sure that we have a comprehensive plan of action in place. This just won't be words, it will actually be action. What I'm hoping is that by the end of October, we will have the first plan available, which will be made public, and from therein there will be an implementation plan which will address the very actions that the Deputy has alluded to.
Deputy Lahigara.
Thank you, Ma'am. Now that it's been agreed that the financial viability of the existing project for the hospital has been suspended, can the Minister please advise what is happening to this assisted reproduction unit moving forward? Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am. Thank you, Deputy, for your question. I think whatever happens to the development of the hospital, it will be kept, all service developments will be kept under review as part of that review process. But I wouldn't want to preempt the outcome of the review, but I will commit to ensuring that whatever the outcome, we will champion the continued presence of an assisted reproduction unit, and that there will always be support and assistance to our islanders seeking fertility care.
Supplementary.
Can the Minister assure us that whatever the assisted reproduction unit moving forward is at least as sufficient as it is now, and in fact moving forward will be better? Thank you.
What I will be able to do is to continue to champion the continued presence of the ARU. I think obviously whatever shape or design of that service looks like going forward will be part of the work that we're doing to actually make sure that within our new provision, within our hospital, that we have got the right services in the right place, in the right time for the people who need them.
Deputy Howell.
Thank you, Ma'am. My question follows on from the question from Deputy Feltham. Morale amongst the frontline staff in the health and community services, and especially in the hospital, is extremely low at present. Please can the Minister explain what action she has taken since being elected to improve this, and what she actually intends to do rather than just setting up a board going forward? Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am. Thank you, Deputy. Well, I think what I would like to do is to be able to assure the Deputy that the actions will be outlined in the forthcoming turnaround plan, for which I'll be able to give more detail.
Can I just say that the staff at the hospital wish to have their voices heard, and I don't think they are, and they are waiting for action.
Deputy.
Thank you. Sorry?
It needs to be a question.
Oh, sorry. I'm just saying, please can the... Thank you, Ma'am. Please can the Deputy take some action to actually speak with the staff, the frontline staff, and understand their problems and what is happening in relation to management at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am. I would like to just acknowledge the passion and the commitment that the Deputy communicates around meeting the needs of staff in the hospital, and I am on board totally with her concerns around that. What I would like to assure her is that I have been visible in and around the service since being appointed, and at the moment we are doing the work to actually engage staff and to bring them together to be part of the turnaround plan. And as I said, I would like to reflect that in the detail that comes forward in due course.
Monsieur le Deputy Ward.
Thank you, Ma'am. May I ask the Minister, one way to improve morale in a simple way is to ensure that staff are paid adequately. Will the Minister be supporting a minimum cost of living pay rise for our health service workers this year? Thank you, Ma'am.
Thank you, Ma'am. Thank you, Deputy. I have no plans to consider that at this moment in time. Thank you.
Supplementary, Mr. Deputy Ward.
Thank you, Ma'am. Can I ask when that will be considered? Because the reality of what you're paid to do your job is just as important when we have a cost of living crisis. Thank you, Ma'am.
Thank you, Ma'am. I think any developments around the living wage or the minimum wage will be considered in the round, and not particularly to single out any particular group of staff. But what I would say is that At this moment in time, the Social Security Minister, the Treasury Minister, and indeed the Council of Ministers have put in a whole series of packages to address the issues associated with cost of living at the moment. And as I see it at this moment in time, there is no need to actually go further than this.
Deputy Howe.
There's just one further question. I thank you very much, the Health Minister. What is she doing to address the number of locum appointments that are currently going ahead at the hospital and trying to make permanent staff? Thank you.
Thank you, Mum. Thank you, Deputy. This is, as she will know, an ongoing issue. I think we are in a climate where it is extremely difficult to actually get employed staff fully right across our health system. And that's for a whole host of reasons. That's to do with some of the issues around how healthcare workers like to work. It's also to do with some of the other socioeconomic conditions. What I can tell you is that we are looking in detail at the areas where we need to target some of the recruitment for some of the posts that have been vacant for so long. And as part of our workforce strategy, we're actually trying to reduce down and create the conditions necessary for people to come here and work in Jersey on a more permanent basis. And that in particular addresses some of the constraints associated with housing, which we've talked to the Housing Minister about, and very pleased and very helpful response from him has identified a number of properties that will actually allow people to come and live here more permanently. But in terms of a wider issue about how we can actually address the longer term plan, again, that will form part of our workforce strategy, which will not only be the responsibility of myself, it will involve a whole host of ministers involved in trying to recruit people to the island on a more permanent basis.
Supplementary.
Thank you, Ma'am. Can I also ask that the consultants are going to themselves, who work in the hospital, will be involved in the recruitment of colleagues with whom they are to work, and that they are going to have, things are going to change, and that they will have a say in future? Thank you, Ma'am.
Thank you, Ma'am. I think as conversations have gone on over the last couple of weeks, that one of my commitments is to involve people, frontline staff, in the decisions that affect their work and their well-being. And I can give an assurance that clinicians will be involved more fully in the appointment of their colleagues. Clearly, you're not in a position to actually recruit the same person at the same level as you, but we would want greater representation of clinicians in all of the appointments, as well as people who use services, to make sure that we've actually got a much more eclectic perspective in terms of the quality of the people that we'd like to actually occupy those posts.
Deputy Lehegra.
Thank you, Ma'am. What consultation has the Minister had with staff at the hospital following the review of the Our Hospital project?
I'm actually not leading the review per se, but we have had a number of consultations with people about various aspects of healthcare delivery, and I have a number of planned meetings before the review process is complete with consultants and with frontline staff over the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Supplementary?
No, thank you, Ma'am.
One final question from Deputy Ward.
Thank you, Ma'am. Can I ask the Minister, should it be concluded by the Council of Ministers or the Treasury Minister or SEB that health service staff will be offered a below cost of living pay rise, will she be supporting that? Thank you, Ma'am.
I'm not going to be drawn on any issues in relation to pay increases or cost of living issues, which are further to the comment that I made earlier.
That brings to an end the question period for the Minister for Health and Social Services. We then move on to the second question period, which is for the Minister for Home Affairs. Deputy Mezek.
Thank you, ma'am. I was aware of work that was being done under her predecessor to look into reclassifying the offence of possession of cannabis so that it could be dealt with at parish hall level and therefore preventing those who are prosecuted, bizarrely in the 21st century for that offence, to avoid them having a publicly known criminal record. Could I ask the Minister if this is something that is likely to still be considered?
Thank you for your question. I've been clear in my nomination speech that any considerations about changes to the legality of cannabis must be considered within a broader strategic approach to drug and alcohol use. I'll therefore be including this as part of the Revive Building a Safer Community strategy to ensure that we fully consider all the possible implications in terms of community safety and public health. My approach, which will always be supported by best evidence, will be one of harm reduction and it will not be punitive.
Supplementary, Deputy.
Thank you, ma'am. When I had heard about this being looked into previously, it sounded like it was on the verge of being imminent that we would stop people, as part of harm reduction, from receiving publicly known criminal convictions for simply smoking cannabis every now and then in the same way that many of us might enjoy a drink of alcohol from time to time. Could the Minister confirm whether that change in status is still imminent, or will it be something more long-term based on the other work which she said she wishes to be done?
Thank you. The issue will be dealt with as part of the substance use strategy, so I cannot say that any changes will be imminent, but they will be considered within the broader considerations of that strategy.
Deputy Porre. Okay. Monsieur the Deputy Ward.
Thank you, ma'am. May I ask the Minister, does the Minister support Rouge Bouillon as the site for a combined ambulance and fire station? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for that question. As members will know, there is quite a complex discussion going on about the role of the Rouge Bouillon site. Will it be used for a primary school or will it be used for emergency services headquarters? Currently, we're working with the Infrastructure Minister to look for the most appropriate site. What I would say is, as Minister for Home Affairs, I am concerned that the response times of wherever the new ambulance fire headquarters is put remain on a par with the response times that are there on the Rouge Bouillon Ring Road.
Supplementary?
Yes, please, ma'am. Difficult to know from that answer, but can I ask the Minister does she see a final decision being made and announced to us in the Assembly? Thank you, ma'am.
A final decision would need to be made by the Minister for Infrastructure, but we are well aware that this is an important decision which is required to kind of start the dominoes falling for many other developments in St Helier. I'm assured that it has been given the greatest level of urgency.
Ma'am, sorry, I just wonder whether there is a time span to it. I did ask, I might be out of place there, sorry, ma'am.
I can't answer whether there is a time frame, but I am led to believe that, we are treating this matter as urgent and a decision should be imminent.
Thank you. Deputy Lehegara.
Thank you, ma'am. What update can the Minister provide on the task force on women's safety, please?
Thank you for the question. The Task Force on Gender-Based Violence has now been established. Kate Wright, who is co-founder of the Diversity Network and Vice Chair of the Jersey Community Relations Trust, has agreed to chair the task force for me. Membership of the task force includes the States of Jersey Police, the Health Department, SIPES, Sexual Assault Referral Centre and Victims First, the Jersey Domestic Abuse Service, the Women's Refuge, Jersey Action Against Rape, Brooke and Liberate.
Supplementary. Deputy Scott.
Thank you, ma'am. Could the Minister please advise on what she has done to build on the work regarding building on the parish hall inquiry system to manage juvenile antisocial behaviour, please?
Thank you for the question. As the Deputy will know, the Parish Hall Inquiry System and its origins and its effectiveness are something close to my heart. It is a very effective system to deal with not only young people but also adults in order to act as a gatekeeper for the criminal justice system. I am aware that there is ongoing work with the Parish Hall Inquiry to ensure that the majority of young people are kept out of the justice system and for alternatives to be found.
Any more questions for the Home Affairs Minister? No? Yes, Colin Tarleton, one.
Thank you, sir. Could the Minister inform the Assembly whether there's any moves forward on the decriminalisation of parking fines?
Yes, Minister.
I'm rather afraid the Conotop has me on the hop there. I'm not actually aware of anything within the Home Affairs Department that would contribute to the decriminalisation of parking fines, but I undertake to find that out and feed that back to the Conotop.
There are no more questions for this. Yes, Deputy Messick.
Sorry, sir, I was preempting for the next session of questions
Are
about
you?
notice.
All right. Well, you'll be first in the next round then. If there are no more questions for the Minister of Affairs, we move on to questions for the Chief Minister, Deputy Messick.
Thank you, sir, and I absolutely promise you that there's nothing personal in this question against you, but the Chief Minister has in the past been on record as supporting the separation of powers. And I would like to know if that is still the position of this Chief Minister, that this Assembly should be established as the supreme decision-making body of the island with our own President elected from amongst our number, as most sovereign parliaments in the world do.
Chief Minister.
Thank you for the question, Deputy, and my position on this matter has not changed.
Supplementary,
yes.
I'm very pleased to hear that, and could I ask the Minister if this subject will feature at all in her work programme at any point in the coming 4 years, accepting, of course, that issues to do with cost of living must be a much greater priority, but this constitutional matter being settled could come at some point in those 4 years if she gets time.
Well, sir, I think it has usually been a matter for backbenchers to bring a proposition, and of course, if anyone has time in their busy agendas to consider that matter, they would be most welcome and would receive my support when it came to the Assembly. As a matter for the Council of Ministers, if nothing else was forthcoming, perhaps that's something that we would consider once we have completed the important agenda of business that we have in regards to our 100-day plan, the government plan and the common strategic priorities.
Thank you. Deputy Porry.
Thank you, sir. In recent months, I have been made aware of issues related to the welfare of migrant workers, in particular those employed in tourism and the hospitality sector on a work permit who rely on their employers to meet certain criteria. However, it appears that a lack of direction with regards to disputes between permit holders and employers is creating a big issue for the workers. Minister, to what extent do the migrant workers employed on a work permit have access to redress where they feel they have been treated fairly by their employers?
Chief Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Porre, for the question. This is a matter that has been brought to my attention following meetings with both Friends of Africa and the Jersey Advisory and Conciliation Service. And it is a matter of great concern to me that migrant workers on whom we rely and welcome to our island for their skills and their commitment to working so that we can deliver services across the island. Sir, it is in order to see that some resolution is provided to those workers who are concerned about standards, they can have recourse to the Immigration Department, who are here to oversee the work permits that are granted to such workers.
Supplementary?
May I just ask the Minister, does the government undertake any checks to ensure that employers are meeting their obligations to look after the welfare of the employees who have a working permit?
Thank you, sir. So as I mentioned in the tail end of my last answer, it is a job for the Immigration Service. They have the ability to check that work permits and contracts are meeting the standard requirements that they set out to when those contracts were agreed with the individual worker. And I have requested the Home Affairs Minister to ensure that her department is exercising that authority, and they have my full backing to do so.
Thank you. Deputy Kovacs.
Thank you, sir. The head midwife has informed the only fully qualified breastfeeding specialist in the maternity ward funded through the Baby Friendly Initiative that her presence in the ward has to be reduced to more than half due to budget cut. Can the Chief Minister, who was previously been directly involved in this steering group as well, confirm if there was a budget cut to the Baby Friendly Initiative group, and if so, why? What is the budget looking like now? And does that still include sufficient funds for a full-time breastfeeding specialist in the ward?
Chief Minister.
Thank you, Deputy. The loss of the breastfeeding specialist was a matter of great regret to me. My understanding is that that was for personal reasons and not due to any budget cuts. But I will check that. My understanding is, as I think the Deputy's, is that breastfeeding is an important matter for new parents, and it is one of the things that ensures that babies thrive in their very early years and leads to has important benefits to their general development, and therefore I would wholly support the continuation of this vital service.
Thank you. And can you confirm the budget still remain the same, and does the current budget include any plan for training an additional breastfeeding full-time specialist for the maternity ward to be able to provide the best ongoing support from the beginning to the moms that choose to start breastfeeding their newborns?
So as I said, my level of understanding of this particular budget area doesn't go into that level of detail, but I will find out and I will confirm to the Deputy as soon as I possibly can.
Thank you. Deputy Feltham.
Thank you, sir. In 2019, when the Chief Minister was chair of the Corporate Services Scrutiny Panel, she raised several risks and issues in relation to public sector recruitment and retention. Now that she is chair of the State's Employment Board, what changes has she put in place to rectify the issues and mitigate the risks?
Chief Minister.
Thank you, Deputy. Sadly, the recruitment and retention of our staff remains an ongoing concern, and it's something that the State's Employment Board is committed to seeing improvements. At the moment, we've been very mindful of that as we look at the government plan in recent weeks and finalise the figures, because it is very clear in that process that a considerable expense is being put on the public purse in costs of finding short-term staffing fixes because of our recruitment and retention issues. Therefore, culture is one area where we will be providing a great level of focus, but also the other aspects of quality of life that people seek when they come to the island to bring their skills.
Supplementary?
Yes, sir. I was glad to hear the Chief Minister refer to quality of life, and today we have heard about the increased cost of living and how that impacts quality of life, and also recruitment and retention. So in those discussions that the States Employment Board has had in relation to the government plan, have you ensured that there is sufficient budget going to be available to ensure decent cost of living pay increases to the public sector workforce?
So there is a figure in the government plan for inflation for staff in wages. That, of course, will be a factor. But, of course, our members of the public sector also will benefit from the measures that we're about to debate in the mini-budget. And that will help to put money back into people's pockets. And I hope that all public sector workers will feel the benefit of those measures if the Assembly supports them today.
Thank you, Chief Minister. Deputy Howell.
Thank you, sir. This is a question to the Chief Minister. It has been brought to my attention that quite a few interim appointments have been made permanent, especially within HCS, without advertising. And I just wondered if I could have your view on this and how we might be able to prevent it happening in the future. Thank you.
Chief Minister.
Well, part of the remit of the States Employment Board is to ensure strategic workforce planning, and that is going to be a particular focus of the States Employment Board going forward. Thank you for raising this matter, Deputy, and we shall endeavour to include this in our considerations, as this is an important matter, and I'm grateful to you for reminding us of it.
Supplementary.
Just to say thank you very much.
Deputy Rob Ward.
Thank you, sir. May I ask the Chief Minister, does the Chief Minister still believe the prediction that income is forecast to exceed forecasts in the current government plan 2022 to 25 will happen?
Chief Minister.
Well, according to the latest reports of the Income Forecasting Group, it is anticipated that income will continue, that's revenue, will continue to increase over the coming years. One of the interesting benefits of our economy is that as interest rates rise, so too will revenue through the profitability of banks who form a strong part of our local economy.
Thank you. Supplementary.
Thank you, sir. Does the Chief Minister see any contradiction in that answer with the statement regards incomes dropping, therefore the cost of the hospital being unmanageable now? Thank you, sir.
Chief Minister.
Well, I thank the Deputy for the question. With regards to the hospital and the financial envelope that the previous Assembly agreed, that financial envelope has been broken. The findings that have been brought to us with regards to the cost of the hospital project is that the costs now exceed those that were agreed by the previous Assembly. So no matter the findings of the review that is being conducted by the Minister for Infrastructure, there will be a necessity to return to this Assembly to ask for them to agree with a new financial spending envelope. Sorry, to return to the reason behind the Deputy's question, I think that all members of the public will expect their government to take a best value for money approach to all of our decision making. And I think most members of the Assembly will be quite aware of the views that they heard on the doorsteps during the election period, that from the majority of members of the public, they did not feel that the hospital project, as it was and is currently, was delivering either affordability or appropriateness for the public.
Thank you. Yes, Deputy Farnham.
Would the Chief Minister inform the Assembly which ministers or assistant ministers asked senior officers to instruct a senior hospital consultant not to express his views publicly on his feelings at the proposed cessation of the hospital project?
No ministers have, or assistant ministers, have given such instructions, sir.
Supplementary?
Is she aware that the consultant in question was spoken to by a senior officer? And if so, was that officer likely to have done that without a ministerial prompt? Thank you.
Chief Minister.
I am aware that a senior official has spoken to the consultant in question, sir, and we're assured that no such direction was given.
Thank you. Deputy Scott.
Thank you, sir. Will the Chief Minister acknowledge that the State's Employees Law currently contains restrictions on public employees in being involved in political activity or making political statements, and that can constrain their ability to comment on political matters, and whether she thinks it's appropriate for this to be reviewed so that these restrictions don't actually operate as gagging or aren't perceived as gagging.
Chief Minister.
Thank you, sir. So the Deputy is correct in her interpretation of the Code of Conduct for public sector employees, absolutely. It has not been described as a gagging mechanism to me in the past, but if employees do have concerns about the way that the Code of Conduct is emphasised, then I would be very well happy to listen to those concerns and to see whether we might be able to address it in a different form of words. But what the Code of Conduct does not prevent is people providing their professional opinions.
Deputy Farnham.
Given the Chief Minister's previous answer, could she, for the record, to be clear and provide some guidance for, especially for the very many hospital staff who have been involved in the development of the plans for the new hospital? Would she then just clarify that she's perfectly happy for clinicians to share their views, their strongly held views publicly?
Chief Minister.
So I am happy for people to provide their clinical opinions, and I think that that is absolutely appropriate. I'm very well aware that many clinicians have differing views, just as many people in this Assembly and beyond have differing views, particularly with regard to this major project. One of the difficulties that as an island we have with major projects is that listening, is that the level of interest from the wider public can often cause delays with major projects, and we've seen that with the police headquarters and many others. And so we will do our very best to acknowledge and appreciate the various views that are held, but at the end of the day, we have to deliver an affordable and an appropriate hospital for our public to benefit from.
Am I have a supplementary?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Given that, and I do understand that there has to be some rules that on public comment that apply to the public sector, but really consider the health service in this particular project to be outside of those rules, simply because we have asked from the beginning, since the conception of the project, for our clinical and health professionals to be involved in the project. Given her previous answer then, does she think the officer who did speak to the consultant did not do so appropriately, and that perhaps the consultant shouldn't have been silenced? Thank you.
Chief Minister.
So I don't think that this is the appropriate place for us to get into a discussion about he said or she said. So what I do think is important is that all clinicians are able to engage, but equally all members of the Republic are able to engage with this important project and have confidence in it moving forward. We've all just undergone an election period where the hospital project was a key point of interest on many doorsteps and in many hustings. And so I think as States members, we now are very well attuned to the thoughts and views across the public whom we are here to represent. And so together, as an Assembly, we are going to deliver the most appropriate and affordable way forward to deliver this hospital project so that we can meet the promises that we've made to our whole community, sir.
Supplementary? You've had yours, haven't you? You've had your supplementary, I think.
Well, could I have another supplement?
Well, no. There's no special rule for you. Are there any more questions for the Chief Minister? Yes, Deputy Hagan.
Thank you, sir. What consultation was actually made with the hospital staff that had been involved in the previous project prior to any public announcements by the current government in relation to the future hospital?
Chief Minister.
Thank you, sir. I think I just referred to in my previous answer the election period and the great number of opinions that were shared with these successful members of the Assembly who have been through that election period and are very well aware of the various views. As the Deputy well knows, the previous government as part of their work on the hospital project, did some level of engagement with clinicians throughout that process. However, I myself have received contrary views from clinicians who found the process to be somewhat uncomfortable and one-sided in its approach. Therefore, I think that as a whole, and having received the views of the public through the election process, we are well placed now to advance and to review the project, notwithstanding the fact that simply the financial envelope has now broken the barrier that the previous Assembly agreed upon, and therefore we will have to return to this Assembly for a reconsideration of that financial envelope following the findings of the review.
Thank you. Supplementary? Any further questions for the Chief Minister? Yes, Conor Thompson-Brillard.
Thank you, sir. Given that the financial envelope just mentioned is changing rapidly, almost on a day-by-day basis, will the Chief Minister assure members that she will give the absolute priority to getting this hospital built? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chief Minister.
Thank you, sir. This is one of my great priorities because I know, sir, that it is a very important matter for the public. But that is one of the reasons why I asked Deputy Binet to step forward as our Infrastructure Minister, because I believe that he has the ability and the focus to ensure that that job is done to the very best standards.
Yes.
So just if I may ask the Chief Minister, have we a timeline for getting a contract signed?
Chief Minister.
So I think that will very much depend on the findings of the review, and the timings are, of course, at the very forefront of our minds. But let's get this review completed and present its findings, and then the next steps will hopefully follow very quickly.
Deputy Farnham.
Thank you, sir. During the election process for Chief Minister, I asked the Chief Minister whether she would ensure that any committee established to review the hospital politically would be impartial. And she assured the Assembly that it would be. Yet she has appointed Deputy Tom Binet, who is probably the most public and vociferous critic of the project to lead the process. So how can she assure members that the process can remain impartial, given already the fact that Deputy Binet has gone on record and said the project is actually a non-starter? Can she assure members that we will get an impartial review?
Chief Minister.
Thank you, sir. I think I've referred to the reasons why the project is a non-starter many occasions today, but simply a matter of the financial envelope. However, I have great confidence in Deputy Binet to chair this process, and it is not a one-man band, though, sir. It is made up of a number of people, and particularly an advisor who has the great ability to assist those members who are taking part in the review, and they will do so in an impartial and balanced way to provide the public with the best possible review they can achieve.
Supplementary? No?
I'll wait. I have another question, but I'll wait for other.
You might not get the turn. I think the last question will be Deputy Mezek.
Thank you, sir. I'm pleased to provide a question on a connected subject to that raised by the Leader of the Opposition here. Many of us found out that the pause to the building of homes on Kensington Place was occurring when we read the front page of the JP that day. That, of course, is not ideal. So could I ask the Chief Minister if she would endeavour in future that when such important matters like this are to become publicly known, that members have some advance notice of that, because as constituency representatives, we get asked about this kind of thing all the time, and that is important.
Well, they say, sir, that timing is key, and of course that matter was deeply regretted. Myself and Deputy Binney were due to attend upon the Scrutiny Liaison Committee in those days, and that meeting should have taken place in advance of the media coverage, and that was the intention. But unfortunately, of course, sometimes when a project cuts across many groups and organisations, then that information is not always able to be contained, and it certainly was made public at an earlier stage than we'd anticipated.
Thank you, Chief Minister, and that concludes the period of questions for the Chief Minister. Before we begin public business, a decision needs to be taken about whether to reduce the minimum lodging periods in respect of 3 matters listed on the order paper. Firstly, there are 2 amendments to the mini-budget P80 lodged by Deputy Southern. Deputy Alves and Deputy Taddier, I'm advised in accordance with Standing Order 68A that you will be taking amendments 9 and 10 on behalf of Deputy Southern. And you therefore wish to make the proposition under Standing Order 26.7 that the lodging period be reduced to allow these matters to be debated at this sitting.
Yes, please, sir.
Thank you. Do you wish to say anything in support of the proposition?
No, sir. Well, I think the amendments are fairly self-explanatory. I'm sure if Deputy Southern was here, he would have apologised for the lateness in that. It has been quite a quick turnaround, as I'm sure members can appreciate that even as a member of the Corporate Services Scrutiny Panel, it was a very quick review that we had to undertake, so I hope that members will be understanding to that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Is the proposition seconded?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Does any member wish to speak on the proposition to reduce the lodging period? Chief Minister.
Thank you, sir. Whilst we do regret the timing and delay of this debate, which of course was due to the sad death of Her late Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, the amendments by Deputy Southern were lodged at the point that the Assembly should have been debating the mini-budget, and therefore we do not consider that it is appropriate that we carry on and debate those particular amendments today. If they were to be debated in any event, they are not workable.
Thank you. Deputy Miller.
Thank you, sir. I'd just like to agree with the Chief Minister's comments. The amendment should have been lodged on the 30th of August in line with the 8 amendments which were all lodged on time. I don't support the reduction of the minimum lodging time for this amendment for the same reasons that the Chief Minister has already set out. The mini-budget was lodged on the 2nd of August. Deputy Southern had 4 weeks to develop and lodge his amendment, and it was only lodged on the 13th of September, which means he's taken 6 weeks to lodge it, and given the States Assembly only 1 week to consider its merits, we were unaware of it until the 14th of September. Deputy Southern did also not discuss either of these amendments with me. Me and my officers have had helpful and positive discussions with all the other members who submitted amendments, and it's unfortunate that Deputy Southern chose not to take that opportunity, so I would also oppose the lodging of these 2 amendments.
Thank you. Deputy Rob Ward.
Thank you, sir. I want to speak. I find it very disappointing that the government should take this approach to these late submissions. We've not had a mini-budget before. It's not the process of the government plan. It was during a time of the summer break, which I know my colleagues took a lot of time to go through and look at amendments. Deputy Southern also worked on other amendments before that, and this is I can't think of the word, a process really, as you go through this mini budget and see the knock-on effects. And actually the second of the amendments, or perhaps the first, one of the two amendments in particular, is a particularly important point to be made about the impact of the reduction in Social Security, or one of the two measures. And actually, it took me a long time to go through it and understand what Deputy Southern was going through. I think it's very sad that for a government that has elected itself on the notion of transparency, openness, communication and debate, that the first action it's taking is to stop debate on two amendments simply because of time. Now, I'm sure we all regret that sort of time, but you've got to remember that backbenchers don't have the support that government ministers do have as well, and many who are now in government raised that issue before. And to now be saying perhaps that, well, okay, we'll forget that now and we'll stop this sort of debate, I think we need to look at that very, very carefully. And I actually hope that the Chief Minister and the Minister will change their mind on that and support the debating of these amendments, so that we have a full, open and frank and transparent discussion of the effect of this mini budget on this Assembly and on the people of Jersey. So I really urge members to support the reduction in this lodging period. Thank you, sir.
So may I ask a point of order, please?
Yes.
So what is the lodging period for amendments to the mini budget?
I'll just check on. I think it's 14 days. Yes, it's 2 weeks.
Thanks. So Deputy Southern's was lodged on the 6th of September. It's now the 20th of September. That is 2 weeks. Is that not the case, that this is in order?
Well, it was lodged late because the debate was due to be heard last week. That's the point.
So I know it was due to be last week, but it's not. It has been lodged 2 weeks now. We've moved to an assembly in unforeseen circumstances, and Deputy Southern's proposition has been lodged for 2 weeks. So the usual reason we have lodging periods is so that members can have a sufficiently long time to read the amendment. Members have had the requisite 2 weeks to read the amendment. Deputy Southern's not here to speak to that. He's asked me to do that. I'm quite happy in one sense. If we agree not to take it, it means I don't have to move the amendment. It's easier for me. But I think that given that it's been lodged for 2 weeks, what's the problem here?
I need to correct you, Andrew Tellier. They were both lodged on the 13th of September. That's what the both amendments say.
So that's, if that's the case, it says the 6th on the one I'm looking at, but if that's wrong,
well, that's the documents I've got in front of me, both say the 13th.
Okay, well that's nullified what I said. Strike that from the record, sir.
Yes. Deputy Farmer.
Thank you, sir. I rise also to hope to be able to persuade the Chief Minister and her colleagues to accept these amendments. We are facing extraordinary economic challenges, and this mini budget is welcome, sir, and I applaud the government for bringing it in such a timely fashion. And I think it's only right that every member is given the chance to present amendments. And I know we have standing orders which police and control the timescales from which they're lodged, but in these extraordinary circumstances, so notwithstanding the sad events of the last week, I think it would be an error of judgment for the government not to support these amendments, and I urge the Assembly to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mezek.
Thanks, sir. I guess it's just to throw in one other reason into the mix for why I think it should be allowable on this occasion, and that there have been many occasions in the past where the States has, for quite tenuous reasons, agreed to reduce lodging periods, and some members have given some just now. But it does have to be said, so that with a mini budget like this, where there is short notice and where we're exploring ideas that may otherwise have not occurred to us, it is surely helpful to explore ideas that are coming from backbench members to add into the pot here and to think about. And even if and we see this in the Assembly all the time, we debate something one day and decide not to go ahead with it then, but it provides very valuable food for thought and an idea of where members sit on a particular subject, so it can come back in the future once it's been considered at an even greater level. So surely there is no downside to simply having a debate on ideas that are being thrown into the mix.
Thank you. Deputy Gardner.
Thank you, sir. I just a couple months ago, 3-4 months ago, was backbencher. And I have requested not once to reduce lodging period. When I asked to reduce lodging period, it was on 2 occasions. Once, when we have emergency propositions that came in front of us and we needed to react immediately. Second, when it was amendment on amendment, when government amended my amendment and I asked to reduce because I wanted to put amendment on the government amendment. 2 amendments in front of us, it's not amendment to amendment and it's not emergency. The proposition was launched on the 2nd of August and these amendments have enough time to be lodged. We are, if we would like to consider seriously the remit of these amendments, we need more than 2 days to work numbers out. From the 2nd of August, it was enough time to lodge these 2 amendments. It's not an emergency and it's not amendment for amendment. And this is the reason that I would be rejected, not because of the transparency, not because of the remit. I do believe there is a remit and we can debate, but it's not emergency and the deputy had enough time to lodge these amendments.
Thank you, Deputy Ozil.
So if I may just advance a view, this is the first effectively sitting of this new Assembly and we're debating an issue of breaking lodging periods. The arguments have already been made about the timing, but the other important thing that I've heard, sir, is that the Minister wasn't consulted by the Deputy in drafting the amendments that we may or may not be debating if we limit the time limit. But actually, most importantly, they actually can't be done. And so it's not only, there are circumstances where a reduced lodging period may be permitted. But I'm hearing, sir, that an amendment has been brought forward late, hasn't been consulted on, and can't be done. And that's the reason why I, for my part, sir, as a member of the government or not, but a member of this Assembly, will not be voting for a reduced lodging period. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Deputy. Deputy Scott.
Sir, my concern is that whilst I sympathise and really do believe that help should be given to those who are struggling as soon as possible, that if this proposition is accepted and then rejected, that Deputy Southern won't have the opportunity to reintroduce it for another 3 months. And my preference would be for him, were he here, to have withdrawn it, as I have done with 2 propositions myself, and to resubmit it, having had the discussions with the councils and ministers, and perhaps having amended it so that if there are objections that are going to be raised, that they can actually be addressed. So I'm just sorry that he's not in the chamber to actually explain a bit more about his reasoning.
Thank you.
So can I?
Well, you have spoken in the debate.
So I spoke on a point of order, but it's just...
Yes.
I'll let Senator Deputy Gorst even speak. I don't know whether to stand these days or sit down. But
It's best if you stand and then sit down when you've finished. Deputy Gorst.
So, as you well know, a point of order requires a ruling from the chair, not a speech by a member. So I do understand. I do understand why some members may wish to foreshorten the lodging period in this way, but I would just seek to remind members of the timescale, sir. On the 9th of this month, sir, we had a special States Assembly to pay our appropriate respects to Her late Majesty the Queen. You will recall, sir, that at the end of that sitting, it was proposed to rightly defer the mini-budget, which should have taken place the following week on the 13th. The 13th was the day that the proposer of these amendments lodged those amendments, but you will also recall, sir, that at that sitting on the 9th, the mover of these amendments spoke strongly against the change in the time of the sitting of the States until the 20th. And so I'm not sure, for my part, that it is appropriate that we reduce the lodging period, and we just have in mind the timescales of how we've arrived at where we are today, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy. Does any other member wish to speak on this proposition? Yes, Deputy Morello.
Thank you, sir. And I'll thank everyone who's spoken, including Deputy Mezek, who quite rightly said that the appropriate exchange of ideas, this is what the States Assembly is for. But I would argue that in this case, there hasn't been an appropriate exchange of ideas, sir. Deputy Southern, were he to really have wanted to ensure that his proposition is seen and thought of correctly and consulted upon correctly, would have at least spoken to the minister involved in advance of this. He would have been lodging it in time for the original debate, but as a result, this coming a week late smacks of a certain sense of opportunism going on there, sir. These propositions, or the one in question at the moment, is complex. It has wide-ranging implications on budgets, on government, sir, and its work. And yet Deputy Southern chooses not to go and have an appropriate exchange of ideas, as Deputy Mezek says should take place. He just throws it straight in for debate. And as we know, sir, when debate takes place in an ill-informed manner, because neither government nor anybody else who has a differing view has had a chance to properly assess the implications of the proposition, then the debate that takes place isn't properly informed and therefore becomes a dangerous debate, sir. So I say there has been no exchange of ideas. Deputy Southern has not shown his willingness to try and encourage the government and engage with the government properly on this matter and try to encourage the government itself to incorporate this, either into the mini-budget or into a future budget. Instead, sir, by just throwing it into debate at the last possible time, it means that the states will be having an ill-informed debate, sir, and that, I think, should never happen. So I will be voting against this.
Thank you, Deputy. Deputy, you have spoken in this debate.
So it was a point of order, sir, which were you ruled against?
Yes.
So may I speak? I'd like to just to try and be helpful, actually, sir.
All right. Well, it was raised as a point of order, so I'm going to let you speak.
Thank you, sir. I know often points of orders don't end up being points of order, but it was genuinely raised as a point of order, so it wasn't meant as a speech. Otherwise, I would have said something else. So look, I'm the first one. Members will know who will stand up and object if I think there's not a valid reason for reducing a lodging period. I've looked at, and apologies for the confusion about when this was lodged. I thought it was lodged on the 6th. It wasn't. Deputy Southern's not here to talk to his own amendment and to say why he lodged it late. That's nobody's fault. We were meant to meet last week. We couldn't. He's made other arrangements. What I would say is that some of the arguments that have been put forward are spurious. So it's irrelevant whether or not somebody has or hasn't spoken to the minister. A member has the right to lodge an amendment as they see fit. He's done that on the back of, I think, the scrutiny work that he's done and the hearings that he's had, which would have, of course, and he's actually cited the minister in that from the hearing, so he's consulted through the right processes. Some members might have a way of making phone calls, having coffee and biscuits with the minister, saying, do you mind if I do that? Do you mind if I do that? Would you consider withdrawing your amendment? This hasn't happened in this case. So Deputy Southern's got his own reasons, and we stand by him, certainly as a party, by what he's doing. This has got our full blessing. I don't know why whether he could have lodged it any earlier. I think he's done this because he wants to have a debate on an issue that's important, not just to him, but to his constituents and to many people throughout the island in all constituencies who are and have been feeling the pinch for the last 8 years, sir. And it's irrelevant whether it's the ministers say that it's not workable. Those are political arguments for the debate as and when we have those debates. So in order to be helpful, I think Deputy Scott is right on one of these amendments. It probably could be relodged in a different form at a different time. So therefore, as the eventual mover of Amendment 9, sir, I would be happy, having briefly consulted with the party, to withdraw that amendment. I think we could lodge that at another time and have a standalone. But when it comes to the Amendment 10, that is completely dependent on being lodged at this time. And we can decide whether or not the political arguments that are put forward at the time, on the day, that deputy, and it certainly has an inherent logic to it. And it might well be that Deputy Southern only thought about that fairly late after considering the various evidence that he'd gathered from the scrutiny hearings and reading through the volumes that were going on. So I would ask for a practical, pragmatic approach to be taken here. I do think that whatever decision we make here today sets the tone for the rest of the 4 years. And certainly in the last Assembly, we did overuse the reduction in lodging times. Often it was led by the government of the day, and we need to apply the same criteria to backbenchers or to ministers. So we shouldn't lodge late, ideally, and we shouldn't reduce lodging times willy-nilly, if that's a parliamentary expression. But I think we also need to give a little bit, and if we've learned anything in the last few weeks, is that we need to have a bit of give and take and actually try and look after each other and hopefully learn a few lessons along the way.
Thank you, Deputy. Deputy Scott, you've spoken, I think, in this debate, haven't you?
Am I not allowed to speak? Okay.
You've spoken. What's your point of order? Yes, point of order?
It was another speech, sir.
All right. Does any member who's not spoken wish to speak in this debate? I call upon Deputy Alves to reply. Deputy Alves.
Thank you, sir, and I thank all of the members that chose to contribute to that debate. I'm not going to go over any of the things that have already been said, because I think that everything's been addressed appropriately by other members. Ultimately, it is a decision of this Assembly. I would agree with Deputy Tadia with regards to withdrawing Amendment 9. Can that be done now, or does that have to be a separate?
No, so I think the position is that you're simply making the amendment to reduce the lodging period in relation to the 10th Amendment only.
That's great. Yeah, so I'd just like to maintain that, please, and I'd like to ask for the appel. Thank you.
So I might have a question of clarification.
Yes.
Assembly. I'm not sure who might know this. Is this the only mini or interim budget this Assembly has ever held, sir?
I'm not sure that's a point of order. And certainly it's not
It was just a point for clarification, sir,
yes,
to demonstrate
well,
the
I'm sure it's been
exceptional
heard, and I'm sure
circumstances.
someone will let you know in due course. So the appel has been called for.
Sir, may I ask a point of clarification effectively, sir, not in any speech, but
yes.
Are we voting on just the 9th Amendment or both the 9th and 10th Amendment?
You're voting on the 10th Amendment only, whether to reduce the lodging period and to remind, yes, Deputy Tadia and Deputy Alves have indicated that they are not seeking the consent of the Assembly to reduce the lodging period in relation to the 9th Amendment, only the 10th Amendment. And
But so I wasn't sure if we set out on that debate with both amendments as the subject of the debate, or
we did, and now it's only the 10th.
So, point of order or clarification, please.
Yes, Deputy Scott.
So the 9th Amendment has been So the 9th Amendment, I understand, has been withdrawn. The 10th Amendment, which does raise an interesting point, I believe. Is it possible to have that debate delayed so that the Council of Ministers can consider the financial aspects of it, have a bit more time before we debate
Well, that's a matter you'll need to take into account
Can
now
we change the order?
when you decide how to cast your vote on whether or not to reduce the lodging period.
Okay. Yeah.
So to remind members, Article 26, Standing Order 26(7) says the states may reduce a minimum lodging period for a proposition if they are of the opinion that it is in the public interest to do so. That's the test under standing orders. And I ask the greffier to open the voting.
Sir, can I just confirm it's poor for reducing it, contra for not reducing it?
Yes, Deputy Ward, that's absolutely correct.
Thank you, sir.
Four members have the opportunity of casting their votes. Then I ask the greffier to close the voting. And I can announce that the proposition has been rejected. 11 votes pour, 10 in the chamber, 1 in the chat, 1 abstention, and 32 votes contra.
May we have the pour, please?
Yes.
Those members voting for the Conitab of St Saviour, Deputies Tadier, Alves, Farnham, Mezek, Coles, Porre, Curtis, Beltham, Kovac, and Rob Ward.
The next item is the amendment to the Social Security Amendment of Law Temporary Reduction of Contribution Rates Jersey Regulations, E82, lodged by Deputy Southern. Deputy Alves, I understand that you'll be making a proposition on Deputy Southern's behalf to reduce the lodging period in relation to this matter, which was lodged for debate on the 13th of September.
So I believe it falls away because we've rejected to take Amendment 10.
It falls away, does it? All right. Thank you very much. There's a further matter before we begin public business. The Minister for External Relations has given notice that he wishes to make a proposition that the State sit in committee at the end of public business in order to consider the common external relations of the Council of Ministers. Deputy Ozef, do you wish to make a proposition to that effect?
Yes, sir. Under normal circumstances, this would be a matter that would have been consulted with PPC and been put on public business. However, due to the fact that the last sitting of the States in the third week of July, that was not possible. However, out of courtesy, I consulted the Chair of PPC and also informed all States members in email on the 12th of August of the intention to do this. I have to say that it's been very well received by members and I would like to formally make the proposition for an in-committee debate on the, following the helpful scrutiny panels, a suggestion for an in-committee debate on the common external relations policy at the end of public business.
Thank you, Deputy Ozef. Is the proposition seconded? Yes, sir. Does anyone wish to speak on the proposition? Yes, Deputy Scott.
Yes, I just wanted to say that there is some difficulty in terms of debating the common policy, just because my understanding as chair of the Economics and International Affairs panel is that much of the aim of the Minister for External Affairs, his policy is to facilitate the policy of other ministers. And so it is, the question is how we can actually approve and agree the common policy if we have not had sight of the ministerial plans. So is this just a discussion, or is this to actually approve the... It's just discussion. Thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
Anyone wish to speak on this proposition?
Yes, sir, in the chat.
Oh, yes, Deputy Ward. Forgive me, I missed you.
Sorry, sir, it's me not being there. It's very interesting that we've got here our External Relations Common Policy Report that was presented to the States on the 8th of September. We are about to enter into a debate which to be quite frank, I don't know what the outcome is going to be because we're not voting on anything. And we've just rejected 3 important amendments which would have made significant changes and really required debate and openness and transparency because there was such a short time to consider the information. Whereas this again is the short time to consider the information, but they're quite happy to bring this debate forward in today's sitting. And that smacks at hypocrisy to me. And that's unfortunate because it's the first sitting of the States. And I hope this is not a habit the government's going to get into where it will use the Assembly and its overwhelming majority of supporting the Assembly to basically do what it wants and reject what it doesn't quite fancy. That's very, very disappointing. That is not open government. That's not about debate. And I think if you want to be consistent in the decision we've just made, this needs to come back much later. This needs to give people time in order to look at this. So there is a genuine debate. And it would also be nice to have a paper that actually looks at what possible outcomes there could be, rather than a number of bullet-pointed factual statements, or statements, I'm not sure how factual they are, which simply list things that are already there and is designed to simply overwhelm members with information so that the debate can be somewhat hinged in favour of whatever the Council of Ministers and a particular minister wants. So I don't think I can accept this going forward today. I think we need more time, just as we've said about the other things. And I make an urge for members to be consistent in your approach, because we're certainly not being consistent at the moment. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Deputy. Does any other member wish to speak on this proposition? No? Can you turn off your light, Deputy Scott? It's illuminated still. I call upon Deputy Ozer to reply. Minister.
So I'm sorry that Deputy Ward has characterised this in the same way as the discussion on the reduced lodging period. In my email to members on the 12th of August, I explained the importance of the Common External Relations Policy, the fact that it is a matter for the executive, and that for the first time, having listened and taken aboard the conclusions of the previous scrutiny panel, that there was a call for an in-committee debate. I'm also I'm sorry that Deputy Scott's observations appear to be a little different from the very helpful discussion that we had with her panel, that what we are seeking to do, and in circulating the notes that we have, is genuinely seeking members' opinions on what should be the issues and elements that are going to be included in the final and then approved by the Council of Ministers external relations policy. Members will be aware that there is a common strategic policy debate which does require a decision by the states. In contrast, the setting up of the Ministry for External Relations, there is a very high-level approach needed that has not been the subject of an in-committee debate before. It was not amended previously by the last government, and this is a genuine attempt to listen and hear members' views, as has been the case on a one-to-one basis in the drop-in sessions and others, but to importantly be open and transparent about it and hear members what they have to say about the important elements of external relations policy. I thought that this was going to be well received. It had been well received by all the members that I had spoken to, and I don't hear anything that has changed from the view that we should listen to the scrutiny panel, get on with an external relations policy confirmation by the executive, but beforehand listen to members' views, which I hope the notes that have been circulated in good time, together with all the one-to-ones and drop-ins I've had with members, is helpful. And so I move the proposition and look forward to a constructive, open and listening debate on what is an important matter for the executive. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Deputy. Are members content to adopt the proposition on a standing vote? All those in favour, please show. Thank you very much. Those against? The proposition is adopted and there will be an in-committee debate at the end of public business. Then move back to the order paper. And the first item for debate is the minimum wage alignment with living wage employers, P78, lodged by Deputy Mezek. The main responder is the Minister for Social Security. I ask the greffier to read the proposition.
There is an amendment to this proposition which I'm happy to accept and have it read as amended, if that's possible.
Are you content? Any member object to the proposition being read as amended? Thank you very much. The proposition will be read as amended.
The states are asked to decide whether they are of opinion. A, to agree in principle that following any adoption by the States Assembly of a statutory basis for a living wage in Jersey, the minimum wage should align with the living wage. B, to endorse the instructions given by the Minister for Social Security to the Employment Forum to consider whether by October 2022 the level of the minimum wage should be lifted to the hourly rate of £10. And C, to request that the Minister for Social Security, further to the Act of the States dated 26th of November 2021, in which P98 of 2021, as amended, was adopted, ensures that all investigations, including consultation and engagement with the Employment Forum in relation to the feasibility of devising a scheme to be brought to the states to convert the minimum wage over time to a living wage, including any legislative changes that may be necessary, be completed and presented to the States Assembly by the end of December 2023.
Deputy Mezek.
Thank you, sir. As we know, the subject of the minimum wage is a fast-changing area in terms of what's actually going on, so I do hope that everything I say will be as up-to-date as possible on this. But could I start by thanking the Social Security Minister for her dialogue in advance of this. I was pleased to see the amendment before it was lodged and offer my thoughts on that, and I'm pleased with where we've arrived as a result of that, so I was happy to accept the amendment. Of course, subsequent to that, we know that the Minister has signed off a ministerial order changing the plans for raising the minimum wage. We were notified about that last week, and it was embargoed until today, that in fact the order stipulates that it will be raised to £10.50 from November, rather than what we had initially been talking about since as far back as July, as far as the government's contribution is concerned on that. So just having a look at the wording for Part B on this, it's kind of superfluous now because the moment has moved on. Part B was asking the Assembly to endorse what the Minister for Social Security had already done in asking the Employment Forum to consider raising the minimum wage to £10 from October. The Minister did that, but that moment in time has moved on now, so I don't think it's unsafe to still have Part B and vote for it. It's just a retrospective thing we're doing now, and it doesn't harm the move to £10.50, so I don't think we need to worry about that. We're not causing any problems with that. So the proposition itself was lodged literally as I walked down the stairs out of the Royal Court after we were sworn in as members. I took my phone from out of my pocket and I sent an email I had saved in my drafts to the State's greffier asking that this proposition get lodged. It was an election commitment to do so, to lodge a proposition on the day that we were sworn in as members to increase the minimum wage to £10 from October and to set the pathway for Jersey's minimum wage and living wage to be permanently aligned after that. So I was very pleased to fulfil that election commitment literally as soon as I practically could. I was then very pleased to see in the government's 100-day plan that they had put a commitment forward to raising the minimum wage in line with what I'd suggested in this proposition, and then a subsequent rise. Beyond that, I should say to the Chief Minister that if she has any plans for a 200-day plan, she's more than welcome to look through our manifesto for other ideas to include as well. I would be very pleased to support that. So what Part A of this proposition does is it gives this Assembly, with its new and renewed membership, a first opportunity to say here and now that we commit to the principle of the living wage, to say that the minimum wage in Jersey should no longer be a poverty wage. It should be enough for somebody to sustain a basic and enjoyable existence on our wealthy island, and to send that signal out to the public that that is the direction of travel. I hope that Part A won't be controversial on that basis. I hope members will support that. It is a basic point of principle. Perhaps there are some people out there who, for reasons I'll never understand, think that the calculation system for the minimum wage shouldn't be based on what's enough to live on, but I'll leave it to anyone who does think that to make the argument for it. I think it's incomprehensible. But I guess the most important part of this proposition then becomes Part C, which, having been amended by the Social Security Minister, asks us to endorse, essentially setting a deadline for when we will be talking about the legislation that will make this a reality, and to set in stone how we move towards the living wage. It's not something you can simply do overnight and click your fingers and have it done. You have to have a pathway towards it. I'd initially suggested that that work could be done by December of this year. I was being ambitious with that timeline. We've had a good conversation with the Social Security Minister, being updated on what some of the options for that look like and how that can be proceeded with. I'm happy to say that that deadline could be set for December next year instead, and it's okay to do that because there's a significant rise in the minimum wage in the meantime. So I don't think it is actually delaying that date in the future when the minimum wage and living wage are aligned. If I did think there was a chance of that happening with this amendment, then I wouldn't have accepted it in the first place, but I do think that it's safe to do so. That's, by my standards anyway, a relatively short opening speech to a debate. Don't get used to that. But I think that these arguments are well rehearsed. Members will have, I'm sure, been challenged on this principle during the election, and I'm happy to make the proposition on that basis, sir.
Thank you, Deputy. Is the proposition as amended seconded?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak on the proposition? Yes. Minister.
Thank you, sir. I would just like to start by thanking Deputy Mezek for... Sorry. I'd like to start by thanking Deputy Mezek for the open and constructive discussion that we had on my proposed amendment to his proposition. I hope that we can continue that harmonious and constructive method of working going forward, and it is very pleasing to start on a harmonious footing. And I think in this case, at least, we are very much all following the same direction of travel as regards the living wage. I don't have anything to add to Deputy Mezek's comments in respect of Part A of the proposition. I feel I should, in the circumstances, make a comment about Part B and the minimum wage. Part B is correct in that I did ask the Employment Forum to consider an interim increase to the minimum wage to £10 in October. That was an exceptional thing. That was an exceptional thing to do. We don't normally have interim increases in the minimum wage, and we decided that, although the Employment Forum did not support it, I decided that I was going to make an interim increase of £10 in October, pending a further increase in January, which was intended to be £10.50. However, we have seen an opportunity, and we have heard the concerns of business about having 2 increases in short order, and we have now withdrawn the £10 increase and replaced it instead with an accelerated increase in November rather than in January. So this is all quite unusual. It is driven by the cost of living issues that we're all hearing from our constituencies, that we all heard during the election, and the mini-budget is very much aimed at dealing with those cost of living issues, but we also think it's a good thing to bring the minimum wage forward, and it's a significant increase. The increase is 14% to help those on the lowest of incomes in the run-up to Christmas, so I certainly commend that to the Assembly. Part C, I would simply add, as Deputy Mezek has alluded to, the most technically challenging aspect of the move to a living wage is simply how we calculate it. The living wage means different things to different people. It's calculated, there's a very complex calculation in England, and what I would like to see, and which I'm sure the Assembly would also like to see, is an approach that works for Jersey, which is based on Jersey evidence and Jersey statistics. So there there will be a number of solutions. We will be looking at all of those solutions, and like I can confirm to Deputy Mezek that I am as determined as he is that this work should not drift, and that we will be bringing forward legislation by the end of 2023 so that we can move to living wage. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy Farnham.
Thank you, and I'm pleased to follow the Minister. And I don't think there's a single member of this Assembly who will not support, well, there could be, but I hope there's not so, who will not support this. At last, we're making solid steps towards the living wage. And I'd like to ask Deputy Mezek, and also congratulate Deputy Mezek and the Reform Party. This is a temporary truce, I should say, between myself and the Reform Party. For bringing this, but would he accept that an important part of the process, and this is something Deputy Morell and I were grappling with in the last government, as we move to that important living wage, there are small businesses and business sectors that will need help. They will need financial assistance to bridge that gap in the short term, to help them maintain the level of jobs we have and meet the significantly increased costs of their payroll. Now, previous government had committed to providing some support to bridge the gap for some of these very small businesses who the island's economy rely on, and of course the agricultural sector is another area that is going to need our assistance, and Deputy Morell has highlighted that. Does Deputy Mezek agree, sir, that the government must include some bridging mechanisms to help our small businesses get there? Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy. Does any other wish to speak on this proposition? In that case, I call upon Deputy Mezek to reply. Deputy Mezek.
Thank you, sir. Can I thank the two members that have spoken on this? Social Security Minister referred to the harmonious approach we've taken here and wanting that to continue. And of course, I absolutely agree with it, so long as it's the approach I wanted from the start anyway. So the only real point I think that was made for me to respond to was from Deputy Farnham about small businesses and bridging mechanisms, and would I accept the necessity of that? And of course the answer is I do support that. It's vitally important that every sector of our economy is enabled to thrive, and that whatever government imposes on them in terms of terms and conditions and pay and all the rest of it, that businesses are able to cope with it. But there's the other side of it as well, which is that people ought to be paid enough to make a living. That's a basic point of principle, and in some instances you have to question business arrangements if they can't make their business viable whilst paying their employees enough to live. But then we do have to consider that there are wider economic circumstances as well, and perhaps the greater good involves government taking a more active approach to support them. I know there's been questions about agriculture in particular. We have to remember, though, that if people are being paid a poverty wage and having to have their living topped up by benefits, that is essentially an indirect subsidy of that business. And perhaps a more transparent subsidy system would be better. It would be better for the worker because there would be dignity in the fact that they would be earning their living and not having to get caught up in the government benefits bureaucracy just to pay their bills, and that there would be, I would presume, smarter ways of targeting that subsidy otherwise to get what you want out of it. I guess some connected points that can be made to that, when we're looking at calculating what the living wage exactly is, that will be dependent on things like how much you have to pay to keep a roof above your head. And if we can do something to tackle the cost of housing in the island, that itself will lead to pressure being taken off those businesses from their employees or prospective employees who are saying, I can't get by on this salary, I need to be paid more in order to pay those bills. So those external pressures will have an effect on it there. And if we can take greater action in those areas too, that will take the heat off other areas of the economy where they are struggling to recruit and retain people, because anytime they find anyone with talent who can do the job, often they don't last very long because they just can't afford the cost of living. But that basic point of principle must be that what you receive in your pay packet every month should say to you as an employee, you are worth a living, you're getting a living, you have earned this, and not force people through the sometimes what's considered indignity of working full-time but still being in poverty at the end of it. So, so that's all I've got to say in response to Deputy Farnham on that, and I call for the appel.
The appel has been called for. I invite members to return to their seats. I invite the greffier to open the voting. If all members have the opportunity of casting their votes. Then I ask the greffier to close the voting. I can announce that the proposition has been adopted unanimously, 43 votes pour. The next item is the mini-budget, PAT, lodged by the Council of Ministers. The main respondent is the chair of the Corporate Services Scrutiny Panel, and I ask the greffier to read the proposition.
The States are asked to decide whether they are of opinion to agree that the following actions should be taken to address cost of living concerns. A. Increasing the personal income tax thresholds and allowances by 12% above the 2022 thresholds and allowances, in accordance with the table in Appendix 2 of the report accompanying the proposition, to take effect for the year of assessment 2023. B. Temporarily reducing by 2 percentage points Class 1 and 2 Social Security contributions for the period 1st of October 2022 to the 31st of December 2022, comprising a reduction in respect of earnings below the standard earnings limit from 6% to 4% for the Class 1 employee contribution rate, and from 12.5% to 10.5% for the Class 2 contribution rate. C. Doubling the value of the community costs bonus for 2022 by increasing the value of the bonus from £258.25 to £516.50. D. Setting a fixed value at £70 per month for the cold weather bonus and cold weather payments, regardless of temperature, for the winter months, October 2022 to March 2023 inclusive. And E. Postponing the commencement of the obligation for offshore retailers to register under the Goods and Services Tax Jersey Law 2007 from the 1st of January 2023 to the 1st of July 2023.
Chief Minister.
Thank you, sir. Sir, islanders are facing the greatest cost of living challenge in over 30 years, putting ongoing pressure on the pound in our pockets and stretching family budgets to breaking point. Governments across the globe are helping their citizens to weather this storm, and we in Jersey are no different if we are to support islanders through this crisis. The Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development has analysed the response of member jurisdictions and strongly recommends support measures which keep money in people's pockets. In other words, gives support to boost income, rather than measures which try to keep prices low. Leaving money in people's pockets allows individual households to prioritise their spending according to their needs, with minimal government interference. As the Corporate Services Scrutiny Panel has acknowledged, the Council of Ministers has worked at speed to produce this immediate package of relief measures in this mini-budget, and I'm grateful to both Corporate Services and the Economic Affairs Scrutiny Panel for their consideration of it. We will continue to monitor the situation, and if need arises, we'll take further actions in our first government plan, which the Assembly will debate in December. This package of measures is designed to help lower income households the most. Some measures are targeted across the community, with the majority being aimed at specific groups with particular needs. This increase in tax exemption thresholds and allowances will help all islanders who pay tax, including, most importantly, those lower income families. Further to that step, which will be felt across the community, the Treasury Minister and the Minister for Social Security have taken the lead in devising a package of measures to help low and middle income taxpayers and those who do not pay income tax. We are very aware that families across income brackets are feeling the pinch. So the Council of Ministers is proposing significant above-inflation increases in the personal income tax thresholds, which will help everyone other than the top 10% of high-earning taxpayers. This encompasses the income tax exemption threshold, as well as increases in the tax allowances available for each child in those households. There will also be similar measures in the tax relief available for childcare and allowances to support unmarried parents. This will put £520 back in the pocket of a single person for 2023 and £832 for a married couple or civil partnership. There will at least be an extra £101 in parents' pockets for every child they support. So it is complicated in general terms to say how different kinds of household will benefit from this package, as the makeup of every household is different. The package helps lower income households the most. And as an example, a married couple, both earning a household income of £41,600, so each earning £10 an hour, would see £619 more in their pockets in 2023 and would no longer be paying income tax. If they were earning £12 an hour, then they would be better off by £1,243. And I think that example shows how quickly the Social Security Minister and others have worked in the last few days to move on the minimum wage. So these tax changes will take effect from the 1st of January 2023 to enable Revenue Jersey and employers to take account of them in salary deductions as early as possible in that year. I'm asking States members to give the draft cost of living finance law immediate effect. Self-employed people and pensioners should file their 2022 tax returns as quickly as they can in 23 to benefit from these changes, and I would encourage them to file online so they receive the benefit as quickly as possible. But so we know that islanders cannot wait until January for financial help. Prices are rising now, and higher utility bills will be hitting letterboxes in the autumn. The Council of Ministers is therefore proposing a temporary reduction in the Social Security contributions rate as a stopgap measure. The Minister for Social Security is proposing to ask States members to support a temporary 2% cut in Class 1 employee and Class 2 contributions for the last quarter of 2022. This is a cut in the rate below the standard earnings limit of £4,764 a month, which is equivalent to £57,168 a year, effectively benefiting people by 2% of their earnings in October, November and December. We estimate that this will benefit around 54,000 workers and will deliver over £200 into the households of those couples I mentioned earlier who are earning between £10 or £12 an hour. So the old age pension will rise by 7.7% from October under the existing automatic formula, which helps to ensure that we protect our pensioners from inflationary pressures. This will give a single pensioner with a full Social Security pension an extra £940 a year. We also propose to continue with the cost of living temporary scheme, which was launched in April this year, and it's available to those who will receive income support and those who have recently claimed cold weather bonus or a community cost bonus, or who are covered by the Pension Plus scheme. Around 11,000 individuals have so far received £20 a month extra on top of normal benefits. As States members will know, this payment has been doubled to £40 since August. So, touching on the community cost bonus, this benefit has its genesis in the introduction of GST in 2007. It was intended to support lower-income families who are not eligible for income support to compensate them for the increases in food arising from the imposition of GST. Everyone who pays income tax was similarly compensated through increases in the personal tax thresholds at that time. The Council of Ministers has proposed that the community cost bonus should double to just over £516. Around 1,000 households currently claim the bonus on application each year, and we believe that more people are eligible to claim, possibly up to 7,000 households, and even more if the third amendment to this mini-budget, as amended by the Council of Ministers, is adopted. The government will be working with third sector bodies to encourage further take-up of the community cost bonus, as the Social Security Minister highlighted during question time. So this is a further £258 or £516, depending on whether the household already claims the bonus. Additionally, work is undertaken to review this scheme and to put forward proposals for its future. Taking account of the timing of the last general elections, the last government took steps in 2021 to uprate income support components by 2.6% from October of this year, in line with the Fiscal Policy Panel's forecasts, which are available at that time. The Social Security Minister has lodged regulations taking account of recent developments. We will also be looking at the support provided to private sector tenants through income support. In the meantime, islanders eligible for income support will receive their COLTS payments until the end of the year. Lower income pensioners who aren't eligible for income support are entitled to receive a cold weather bonus. Cold weather payments provide similar assistance to some income support households. From October of this year to March of next, the Council of Ministers is proposing to set aside the normal rules affecting these schemes. Instead, regardless of temperature, households would receive £70 for each of those months, more than double the average payment in recent times. So, although anyone paying tax and making social security contributions will benefit from our proposals in the mini-budget, we are mindful that means-tested benefits in Jersey are only available to people who have lived here for at least 5 years. Our goal is to provide more help to families in this situation, we will provide more details on that shortly. Moving on to free period products, and the Council of Ministers is also proposing to provide those period products to those who cannot afford them. In addition to existing schemes to provide products free in school, a scheme will be devised to make them freely available in public buildings and elsewhere. In light of this, I've instructed Treasury officials to halt their work to give effect to the last Assembly's decision to zero-rate such products for GST. While not directly touching on the cost of living measures we're debating today, I've agreed to ask the Assembly to defer the commencement date for the GST registration of large offshore retailers. The draft finance law would, if passed, see the commencement date move from the 1st of January of next year to the 1st of July. This will allow offshore retailers more time to prepare for the change, which will see them charging GST on sales of goods to islanders and remitting it direct to the Treasury. Consequently, the proposed reduction in GST de minimis level from £135 to £60 will now also be deferred until the 1st of July of next year. The de minimis level is a value for money easement that customs officers do not spend disproportionate time and money seeking to charge GST on lower value parcels which are imported by private individuals. So this mini-budget is the start of our work to help islanders with the cost of living, but it will not be the end. The Social Security Minister has taken steps to increase the level of the minimum wage as part of our 100-day plan and increase it to £10.50 an hour, which will come into effect in November. We are actively engaging with landlords in discussions about avoiding and curtailing rent increases. I hope we can work collaboratively and effectively and thereby avoid the need for statutory interventions in the private rental market. And we recognise that awareness building of these measures to encourage the widest possible take-up is essential. Additional funding is to be provided to that end. Over the coming months, we'll be piloting further support channels, including, for example, officers from government visiting parishes to help parishioners with their tax affairs and to help address the cost of living concerns. So, as I've said, this mini-budget was developed at pace and to ensure that we could address the cost of living crisis and put money into the pockets of islanders ahead of winter. I'm grateful to the Corporate Services panel for raising the issue of children's rights impact assessments. There wasn't time to undertake a very detailed children's rights impact assessment, but we did take into account the impact of those measures on children and young people who were very much at the forefront of our minds in devising this package of measures. While there are no measures designed specifically to provide a direct impact for children and young people, I'm confident that this package of measures is balanced and has a particular focus on those who need it most, including families with children. The increase to net income for islanders will indirectly impact children and young people as they're cared for by those who will benefit from the measures. The package of measures will provide additional targeted support to families on low and middle incomes, which include children and young people, and the impacts will be positive. So I'm grateful to the Council of Ministers and to the Corporate Services and Economic and International Affairs scrutiny panels for the speed with which they have worked in this important task of helping islanders to manage the impact of the rising cost of living. This is an extraordinary measure to meet the needs of islanders at this difficult time. I pledge on behalf of the whole Council to keep these measures under review and to act again if more is needed. For now, sir, I commend these measures to the Assembly.
Thank you, Chief Minister. Is the proposition seconded?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. There are a number of amendments which running order has been produced. The first amendment under consideration is amendment number 4, lodged by Deputy Mezek. I see the time.
Could I propose the lunch adjournment?
That's seconded? Anyone to speak on the adjournment? No. State stands adjourned until 2:15.